It's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with the Honorable Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and most importantly this week, right from the middle of the RNC convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was a wild night. Peter Navarro, fresh out of prison, takes the stage, says he will continue to fight. They tried to break him, but they did not succeed, and he never backed down. That was one of the more powerful moments. And then what just got me, man, those Gold Star families. These were family members of the 13 killed in the blast attack that took place in Afghanistan. They took the stage last night. And first of all, it was incredibly powerful how they honored their children, their nephews, their nieces, their grandchildren. That was remarkable. And then a searing indictment of Joe Biden. He never once said their names. He checked his watch multiple times. It was clear he did not want to be with them that day that the bodies of their children returned from Afghanistan. It was remarkable. It was one of the more powerful moments of that entire convention. And then the man himself, JD Vance, he kind of won me over. I'll be honest, when he was first named, I went, 39 years old, almost no legislative political experience. He's got an interesting background. I was more in the Tulsi Gabbard, Ben Carson camp. But JD Vance delivered what he needed to yesterday. He needed to look vice presidential. He needed to look comfortable in that role, and he did. I thought he did a wonderful job with his speech. So we are going to be covering all of this coming up in just a second. Heidi Ganahl, yes, you know that name. Heidi Ganahl will be joining us live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, giving us her insights on what happened last night. 7 o'clock hour, Jonathan Keller, the president and CEO of Colorado Family Council, is going to join us to talk about what in the world is this bizarre new law in California that bans school policies from notifying parents of kids' gender identity. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for Elon Musk. He's out of there. So we'll get some insight deep from the heart of California. And then Salem will be with us through the 8 and 9 o'clock hour as we preview the big show tonight. Donald J. Trump takes the stage in his first major address since the assassination attempt that took place this past weekend. So you're not going to want to miss this show. Salem will be going wall to wall to cover the RNC convention's last and big final day. So stick with us throughout the entirety of the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. You get any sleep last night?
You know, a little bit more. But this is just a wild week, man. I can't.
It is, man. There's so much stuff.
If I was in Milwaukee, I've been running around the same way too. It's just, right. And last night they are delivering. The person I've put together a big conference, not as big as the RNC convention, but the messaging, the way it's coming together each and every night. You have newsmakers. They're doing a fantastic job.
They are. I mean, I don't know anything about conventions like you do, but this one is one of the best I've ever seen.
I agree.
mean, it's entertaining, informative, and I think all ages can enjoy it, really.
That's right.
So good. I'm glad you got a little rest. 59 and sunny, clear in Denver. Right now, expecting highs in the upper 80s. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
And I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
As Jeff said, Ohio Senator JD Vance accepting the Republican nomination for Vice President. In his RNC speech last night, Vance praised his running mate, former President Trump, and had a great story about his mama who actually raised him.
Now, my mama died shortly before I left for Iraq in 2005. And when we went through her things, we found 19 loaded handguns. They were...
Channing mama.
Now, the thing is, they were stashed all over her house, under her bed, in her closet, in the silverware drawer. And we wondered what was going on. And it occurred to us that towards the end of her life, Mamaw couldn't get around so well. And so this frail old woman made sure that no matter where she was within arm's length of whatever she needed to protect her family. That's who we fight for. That's American spirit.
Now, the former president set to take the stage in Milwaukee tonight to formally accept the GOP nomination. It'll be the first time he addresses the nation since the assassination attempt. Tonight's theme is Make America Great Once Again. And one of Vance's comments on the Trump family was pretty good also.
But 2 nights ago, and I'll share a moment, said goodnight to his 2 boys, told them he loved them, and made sure to give each of them a kiss on the cheek. And I will say, Don and Eric squirmed the same way my 4-year-old does when his daddy tries to give him a kiss on the cheek. Sorry, guys. He is all those things, but tonight we celebrate he is our once and future President of the United States of America.
Meanwhile,
but it does appear once he gets in the car that he puts that mask on.
Puts the mask on. It appears that he might be getting a little help just getting into the car there. Hard to make out through the rain what exactly is going on there, but it does look like certainly the president's feeling the effects of, early in the stages of COVID. And
get your mask on. Wear the masks. Get the mask on. President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. BET's Ed Gordon asked him, what would it take for you to step down?
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided.
Biden held a tense Zoom call with dozens of congressional Democrats concerned about his mental fitness and re-election chances. One person on the call told news outlet Puck the call was even worse than the debate, as the president gave rambling responses and would lose his train of thought. Biden also reportedly got into a heated exchange with Colorado Democrat Jason Crow, who questioned Biden's ability to lead.
It's about time Jason Crow stepped up. Look, I've said this on this show. This is one of the most feckless, worthless members of Congress I have ever known.
I was waiting to hear that.
Finally, the dude steps up to do something, and it was to get in his own leader's face. Holy cow. And I guess they got into it over Beau Biden, because that's where Joe constantly goes back to. My son got a Bronze Star, and Jason's like, I got a Bronze Star. Come on.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And here's the remainder of that soundbite from BET.
And quite frankly, I think the only thing age brings a little bit of wisdom. And I think I've demonstrated that I know how to get things done for the country, in spite of the fact that we couldn't get it done. But there's more to do, and I'm reluctant to walk away from that.
Oh, wow. All right,
Blake, what is your over under at this point? You've been
You know
what's your
what?
day? You've been calling this since the beginning, man.
Well, 36 days ago, I told Peter when he was on last week, I counted it down because I told you guys it was 36 days ago when I said that I thought it would be, well, whatever. 2 days ago, it was 36 days ago, but the deadline was Tuesday. So that was 2 days ago. I thought he would be gone. So I lose. My over under was that day on Tuesday. And then Peter and I started talking on Friday that we thought it was going to happen on Friday, but now here we are. I'm thinking as you hit the reset button, boy, it doesn't look like he's gonna survive this weekend, does it?
So my sources have told me that the Democrats are waiting for the RNC convention to wrap up because at that point they don't have a big stage to be able to attack the new Democrat nominee. So it forces you to have to do it through ads and those types of things. So they're going to let this happen. They may even mess with Trump today and try to swap them out. So the speechwriters have to scramble to try to figure out what's happened next. But my sources last week were saying they're going to get through this week. Biden will still be the focus of the RNC. We got to stop Biden. Look how bad Biden is. And then they throw it into a switch next week.
Gotcha. All right. So, we were pretty close. I know, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, I really felt like I didn't see the guy surviving, at all.
It has not gotten any better.
No, it hasn't. It's just going to deteriorate. So, even more. So, keep a close eye on that. Should be very, very interesting today. Now, here's the story. 2 GOP senators confronted the Secret Service director at the RNC Wednesday night about the assassination attempt. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn and Wyoming Senator John Barrasso asked pointed questions to Kim Cheadle about reported failures by her agency at the rally.
You cannot hide from the people of the United States. You're the head of the Secret Service. You owe answers.
Good for them. Cheadle saying this is not the time for questions. She left the RNC floor with her agents and was followed by the senators yelling questions until she retreated to a closed room. During a closed-door Senate briefing, Barrasso says FBI Director Christopher Wray had some troubling things to report.
The shooter has been identified an hour before the shooting occurred as a suspicious person.
Barrasso goes on to say that after being identified, agents lost sight of the shooter. He adds that they couldn't find him, even though he was carrying a rangefinder and a backpack. I mean, this is just incredible that Cheadle and Alejandro Mayorkas still have their jobs, but I think we all know what possibly could be going on here. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The co-founder of the Orlando Magic has passed away. Pat Williams, man, I love this dude. He was 84. One of his famous quotes was, "We can't win on the road. We can't win at home. I don't know where else we can play." 56 in Broomfield, 57 in Greenwood Village, and 59 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 7-10 5-day forecast. Temperatures will be upper 80s to near 90 today. Partly cloudy. A few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. Not as many as yesterday, but some will be around. Increasing coverage of thunderstorms. They're back more widespread on Friday, lower 90s. Highs will be in the 80s. That's it for the weekend with late-day thunderstorms continuing. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up just a second, Heidi Ganahl. Yes, you know that name. President of Rocky Mountain Voice, former Republican nominee for Gov in Colorado. Colorado would have been in a much better state. But of course, we had to go with Jared. All right, we're going to get to Heidi in just a second. But Billy, later, Tom Tradup's going to join us again in the 9 o'clock hour. He's the Vice President of News and Talk Programming for Salem. He sent you a little video.
Yeah, he sent us a video to the show this morning. He is there at the Republican National Convention.
Okay, here we are at the Fiserv Forum for the 2024 big night. Trump will be right there tonight, and it's going to be awesome. So Jeff and Bill, we're excited about you following the convention all week on KNUS, and we've been happy to be here for you. God bless.
Yeah, he said hello this morning already, so he's looking forward to talking to us later today at 9 o'clock.
Tom Tradup, join us in the 9 o'clock hour. All right, let's go to Heidi. Heidi, you were at the RNC convention last night. Billy and I were not. We had to watch it on television because we're not as cool as you. Give us some insight. How did it feel in the room when JD Vance was there, when Donald Trump's granddaughter took the stage? Give us some insight.
Good morning, guys. It's an early morning. We've been staying up really late every night, but it's been so much fun. Oh my gosh. It's far exceeded my expectations, everyone around me's expectations. We were talking about this last night. Every speaker just takes it up a notch. And last night, JD Vance had a conversation with America, and he showed his heart. He showed who he really is. His family, Usha, got up on stage and knocked it out of the park. She's a sweetheart. She's just so elegant and calm and funny and bright. It's just, it was such a great moment for our country to see the future of America from someone who's been through the ringer and, you know, how he grew up and how he gutted it out and got his degrees and made a career for himself, met his beautiful wife. It was truly a gift to be here and to be part of this. And I'm kind of in awe about the whole thing.
Yeah, Republicans really coming together. I mean, even, you know, the lamestream media having to acknowledge this, that in this convention, Republicans seem unified. They're behind their candidates. They're excited. They're fired up. And they're ready to move forward while Democrats are falling apart. Now, JD Vance was introduced to the nation last night, and he had to deliver a speech that came across as vice presidential, that he could carry on the America First movement, that if anything were to ever happen to Donald Trump, God forbid, he could step in and become the president of the United States. I thought he was able to achieve that. What were your thoughts?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, afterwards, we all walk out to the buses together and you hear the chatter, and I listen, and everyone was so impressed. There was no complaining, no room for any just question about who is going to lead this party forward. I think everyone is settled into the idea of JD Vance. Some people preferred other folks and were rooting for other folks, but at this point, there's no dissent. Everyone is on board. JD last night brought it all together, and I think that Mama, I think I said it right, Mama is the star of the show. His grandma, the stories about his grandma were insane.
So you represent Colorado. You're there, part of the Colorado delegation. And Heidi, you and I have watched Colorado go from a red state to a purple state to a deep blue state. Now, how do you think this ticket is going to translate in Colorado? And there are some polls out there that say Colorado may be swinging back. What do you think?
I believe that Colorado could be one of those surprise states that swings the other way. I mean, I've been feeling it on the ground for a while. I believe Republicans, we've got to turn out to vote. There were 25% of people in the 22 election, 25% of Republicans that didn't show up to vote. We've got to get Christians out to vote. We've got to get, our friends and family, our neighbors. You've got to start local and get every single person out to the ballot box. That's how we can fight this battle against the corrupt left. I mean, we are fed up with the left's drama and divisiveness. All of America is. You can see people like Amber Rose getting up and talking about it, the union leader getting up and talking about it. And they went way too far last Saturday. We want our country back, and Trump is the man of the moment to get that done. And after a decade of gaslighting and lawfare and name calling and censorship and intimidation, it is time to move on. And we picked Donald Trump to take us forward. We're done taking it, and we're going to see the Democrats at the ballot box in November. And it doesn't matter who is running against him at this point.
Now, Heidi, you and I have not talked since the assassination attempt against Donald Trump that took place on Saturday. Can you give us some insight into where you were when you heard, what went through your mind when you heard that there was an effort to assassinate Donald Trump?
Well, I was in the car. I was just about home with my kids, and we ran into the house and turned on the TV. And I mean, like most Americans, I was very shaken, and I was just kind of dumbfounded about what was happening. I mean, it's sad that it's easy to believe that this would happen, but when you see it actually happening up on the TV, it just takes your breath away. And one of the most impactful speeches to me over the last few days was Kai, his granddaughter, who got up and talked about what it was like when she heard that her grandfather had been shot. And, you know, just the courage that she had to get up on that stage last night and speak from her heart. She knocked it out of the park, and she gave us some insight into who Donald Trump is and how one bullet almost did America in, but almost did a family in. They love him. Those kids love their grandfather, and America loves a fighter. And we've got a fighter in Donald Trump, and he's ready to take it to them. And I can't wait to hear him tonight.
Now, during the 2020 election, Donald Trump struggled primarily with college-educated women, and I've noticed throughout this, the last few nights of the RNC convention, you've had a really direct effort to communicate to moms, to communicate to suburban women that maybe in the past haven't been a fan of Donald Trump. So let's go back through. You had Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which I thought she did an absolutely fantastic job 2 nights ago. You had Laura Trump with the one statement that really hit me, which was, I'm very proud to raise his grandchildren. Then last night, you had Don Jr. giving some insight into his family and giving the fight speech. But before that, his granddaughter, I mean, incredibly powerful speech where she is just so proud of her grandfather and giving us that kind of personal side. Do you think that the RNC convention has done a good job communicating to college-educated suburban housewives?
Well, I am a college-educated suburban housewife, and I think they knocked it out of the park. I think the two most impactful speeches on that front, which were followed up by Sarah Sanders, who did an amazing job, were Ann Funder and Madeline Brame. That was a couple nights ago. They both lost their sons. Ann lost her son to fentanyl poisoning, and Madeline lost her son to violence on the streets in New York. They touched America. It was tear-jerking. And, you know, Anne was more somber and tearful, and it was very sad and very just connected with you. And then Madeline just took it to the Democrats and Joe Biden and just raged on him in a very positive way, I must say. So those two, followed by Sarah Sanders, and then last night, Usha, and the night before, Laura Trump. I don't know how a mom could watch the last few nights and not walk away thinking, oh my gosh, this is the path forward.
Now, one of the most heart-wrenching moments for me watching last night were the Gold Star families. These were families of soldiers that were killed in the Afghanistan attack. The 13 soldiers that were killed there spent 20 minutes on stage, not only recounting who their kids were, saying their name, but I thought it was one of the most searing indictments of Joe Biden. You were in the room. I was in tears watching that. What were you thinking? What was the room like when those Gold Star families were on the stage last night?
Well, what I noticed, Jeff, was there was such a connection between the crowd and the families. And there was a back and forth going on. I don't know if you could tell on TV, but just chants back and forth, like never forget and Joe must go. And just the crowd wanted to hear the stories of their children, which is all they've been asking for. Joe Biden has never mentioned their names. And I saw this morning that somebody was on CNN even railing on the president for never mentioning their names and then forgetting that service members died in Afghanistan. I can't remember if that was the state of the day or whatever, but it was an incredible moments up there last night, and everyone in the crowd was truly affected by it, along with the parents of the young American hostage who's still held by Hamas. That was incredible as well. It was just one speaker after another that spoke to our hearts and spoke to the future of America and how wrong what's happening is right now. There's one other one I want to bring up. I believe his name's Shabos, a young Jewish student from Harvard, and it lit up the room talking about how he's suing Harvard, and how wrong what's happening in higher ed was. That one was one of my favorites too.
Talking with Heidi Ganahl, she's the president of Rocky Mountain Voice, was the Republican nominee for governor in the state of Colorado during the most recent gubernatorial race. Heidi, you've run a race in Colorado. You know the people of Colorado. You've been out there. What does Donald Trump need to say tonight to win the people of Colorado over?
Well, as you know, Jeff, Donald Trump doesn't poll very well in Colorado, or hasn't in the past. I think it's tightening up a lot. He needs to show them his heart. He needs to show them he is going to change the trajectory of our state. Our state is in a bad shape right now. We talk a lot about that, but we've been bamboozled by Jared Polis. We've been lied to by the media about what's really happening. But people are starting to feel it and see it in a way that they can't deny. And they need someone to get us out of this mess. And here's a theme, Jeff, that I've noticed along JD Vance and Amber and the union leader. They're bringing people up who were skeptical or weren't on board with Donald Trump previously, and how their heart has changed and how they're open to who he is, and that the media might have lied to them about who he is. And that's been the theme kind of along a lot of the speakers. And what I believe they're doing is giving permission for people who've been staunchly against Donald Trump to say, perhaps I should give him a chance. And that's kind of that's the thread that I've noticed.
Heidi Ganahl, president of Rocky Mountain Voice, joining Jeff and Bill live from Milwaukee this morning, Republican National Convention. Thanks for your time. I want to go back to some of the things you talked about for a second, about moving forward. And I see that message and I hear it from the Republicans at the National Convention right now. But I have a question about, does Donald Trump reinforce that move forward message? And the issue I see with the weakness in that message is, in order to move forward in the country, we need to go back to the previous president who lost the last election. Doesn't that sort of gum up the works in the move forward message?
Well, Bill, America cares about fairness. And a high percentage of Americans don't believe what happened to Donald Trump in that election or afterwards is fair. And so I believe that's why DeSantis and some of the other people didn't take off in the primary, because Americans are like, no. He deserves a second chance, because it was so unfair what happened, how things played out, the lawfare, the name calling, just the treatment. And so I believe America is all about second chances. And I believe he's the right one to lead a comeback. They also love fighters who can lead us back, right? And so at the end of the day, Americans want to feel safe again. That's probably the highest priority for those that I'm hearing from here on the ground. We're worried about the border. We're worried about the national conversation about political violence. We're worried about our children's future. We're worried about our role on the international stage. We're also worried about inflation. But I would say safety is the highest priority. And there was no better president when it comes to law and order and giving us a sense of security around the world than Donald Trump. So I think people are yearning for that. They don't have to guess about what he's going to do when he gets into office. And I believe he's the right man for this moment.
Yeah, and I would agree with your sentiment there. And I also, though, I think reinforces my previous premise, because you talked about what Donald Trump had done previously, and that safety was the paramount, and they wanted to go back to the safety and security they felt under Trump. That's not necessarily moving forward. And again, I'm not going to debate this, etc. I'm just saying that's what I see the problem in the move forward message, because it's let's move forward, but look back. and let's get this guy who was in the past and then move forward. I just think that that is going to be mixed messaging. I think that the safety security, what we had under Donald Trump, is a much stronger message than the idea of moving forward. Now, I want to focus on JD Vance for a sec, because a moment ago in our conversation, you talked about the fact that you didn't think anybody could defeat Donald Trump at this moment. The weird thing is, Rachel Maddow sort of agrees with you. In the last 15 hours, I've run across a piece from Rachel Maddow, and Maddow says that the pick of JD Vance says the Republicans think this election is in the bag. Do you agree with her?
I never want to be overconfident when it comes to Republicans and winning elections. So I'm going to keep pushing all of us in Colorado and across America to do every single thing they can to get us across the finish line this fall, to fight this battle at the ballot box. And so I'm not going to let a minute of overconfidence seep in to my conversations with Americans and Coloradans. But I do feel like people are waking up, that it's okay to talk about it now. Shoot, you guys, when I ran for governor, it was a taboo to talk about President Trump and your support for him. And I mean, I didn't waver. I didn't care that the media thought that, but that's how they beat us all up, right? They thought that was the right way to do it, and it worked. But now I believe there's no window for that. It's like, sorry, the alternative is terrible for our country. So I think people are getting more brave, more courageous about speaking up about their decision to support Donald Trump. And I'm seeing that here at the convention, but I'm also seeing it in the media and seeing it online, seeing it through the speakers who have stood up over the last few days. I'm really excited that people are finding their courage again. And it's what I'm going to do, is keep encouraging people to find their voice, to be courageous, and to vote for the best choice to lead our country forward.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Heidi Ganahl, you're the president of Rocky Mountain Voice. What is Rocky Mountain Voice?
Rocky Mountain Voice is an unabashedly right-of-center news platform. If you're tired of the liberal bias, this is the place you can go to find all your favorite radio hosts, including Jeff and Bill, and all your favorite writers in Colorado, journalists, and all your favorite shows. And then we also put out a newsletter a few times a week called the Mountain Minute. It's a 5-minute read, kind of recap of the news, but it doesn't include a lot of the outlets that we're used to hearing from in Colorado. It's all about unabashedly center-right news, the truth about what's happening, so that people don't have to wade through the liberal bias that we've had to. We're super excited. Rocky Mountain Voice is all over the state right now. We're sponsoring events. We're getting involved in the community. We're really trying to activate the conservative movement, get everyone pushing together to win this election this fall, and to change Colorado to a place that we remember, the rugged individualism, the Wild West, the new frontier. That's what most of us want back in Colorado, and that's what we're fighting for.
Heidi Ganahl, president of Rocky Mountain Voice. One final question. Any gubernatorial announcements you'd like to make this morning?
Yeah, we open to it. We'd let you do it if you want to.
I am focused on one thing, and that is getting Donald Trump elected this fall. If we don't do that, nothing else really matters in the political sphere. So let's get past that, and then we'll have some conversations about the future of Colorado.
Great point.
I'm going to keep asking until the announcement is made. But Heidi Ganahl, thanks so much for taking time to give us Colorado's perspective at the Republican National Convention taking place this week in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Thanks, you guys. And I'm tweeting my little heart out, so you can follow along on Heidi Ganahl or on RockyMountainVoice.com. Twitter handles the RMV Voice. And we're putting out some really fun content behind the scenes. So follow along, and we'll keep you informed about the final day of the RNC convention and President Donald Trump's speech tonight.
Is that the RMV Voice, or what's the tagline? Just want to make sure everybody gets it.
Yeah, on Twitter, it's at the, like THERM Voice. And then Heidi Ganahl is just my Twitter handle, or you can just search Rocky Mountain Voice and it will come up for you.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Heidi Ganahl, thanks again. And we'll continue to provide a Colorado perspective each and every day from the Republican National Convention. Hey, want to talk to you real quick about Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. We've gotten to know Gay multiple times through the studio here. She comes in, she spends time with us. She answers your question about the housing market. She's delightful. So if you're going to have to sell a home, there's 3 reasons why I think Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team are the best option. Number one, delightful, stress-free type of person to work with, right? Because buying a home, selling a home is one of the most stressful things you can do. You have to deal with the home inspection. You got to negotiate. You got to deal with all of that stuff coming at you, different offers. She can help you through that. I think that matters a lot when you choose the agent you're going to work with. Number 2, she supports the values of this show and studio. She's a sponsor of what we're doing here, and she gives back to orphans in the state of Colorado because she was an orphan herself. She wants to help those kids find their forever homes. So she's about improving our communities in the state of Colorado. Number 3, most importantly, she is a titan when it comes to selling your home. Look, we all got friends, family members, and neighbors that are real estate agents, and they want our business, and they put that pressure on you. Come on, let me do it. Look, Heidi Gay Ribble delivers on selling a home and often gets her clients an average of $30,000 more. Why does she do that? Because she has over 14,700 pre-approved purchasers ready to make a purchase and buy that home. It's really remarkable. She sells her home on an average of 1.5 times faster than everybody else. So when you're making a decision about who you're going to trust to sell your home, it's a business decision for your family. So you want to get the best dollar you can. That's why Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team are the best. Now listen to this offer, okay? They will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Give them a call today, 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's 833-301-SOLD. Or gayhasthebuyers.com, Gaye has thebuyers.com. All right, we'll continue with our coverage from the Republican National Convention. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. Last night, Donald Trump's pick for vice president accepted his nomination at the Republican National Convention. You can watch the former president's speech at the RNC in its entirety on Salem News Channel tonight. But here's Haley Bianco with a roundup of his running mate, JD Vance's remarks.
And so tonight, Mr. Chairman, I stand here humbled, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Republican vice presidential nominee JD Vance was the headliner for Night 3 of the Republican National Convention. Vance used his address to introduce himself while sharing the story of his upbringing and making the case that it's the GOP ticket that best understands the challenges Americans face every day.
Senator Robert Menendez has pushed back against reports that he's about to resign after his conviction in a bribery trial. NBC News reported that Menendez has told close allies that he'll step down from Congress. But the senator responded to those reports, saying that he has not resigned and that he's, quote, not spoken to any so-called allies. Earlier this week, Menendez was found guilty of accepting bribes from 3 businessmen. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering all things Republican National Convention this week. It wrapped up today with the big speech tonight from Donald J. Trump. What are you expected to hear from him? We were debating yesterday, Billy, as to whether or not he'd go fight, 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 or unity, unity, unity. And when I watched Don Jr.'s speech last night, I go, well, he was the fight, fight, fight guy.
Now, you have some really good insight being on the ground and being behind the scenes, the high level as far as these campaigns. Talk to me about that strategy and who decided and how it's decided that Don Jr. has to deliver the fight message, and then Don Sr. comes out and gets to do the unity message.
Yeah, the campaign manager, which I'm not sure who it is this cycle for Donald Trump, but
probably a good thing, honestly.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that they haven't made any news and everything is good. Not Kellyanne,
So they're coordinating all this, and then I've had friends that were speechwriters for Bush, and they were writing speeches. And in fact, one of my friends who was the speechwriter for Bush in 2000 was talking about how Mike Gerson, who was the guy who authored the main delivery for George W. Bush in 2000, the nomination, was so nervous he couldn't be in the room when he delivered the speech that he wrote. And it's a fascinating moment because you write for the person that's going to deliver it, right? Like you could not airdrop in a George W. Bush speech into Donald Trump and expect it to work.
And you have to write in their voice.
You have to write in their voice.
Difficult thing. Yeah.
And you don't write as if it's a term paper because people don't talk in term paper language. They use run-on sentences. They use stop and start sentences, all that stuff.
It's why we constantly interrupt each other. Same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and what I've noticed about Donald Trump Jr. or Donald Trump himself, I don't think it'll be the case tonight, but I was at the National Prayer Breakfast when he spoke one time, and I was like, he's reading this speech live for the first time.
Yeah.
He didn't read it ahead of time because he was agreeing with himself.
Yeah.
He would go, families are absolutely critical to the health of this nation. So true. So true.
Yeah, exactly.
So true. So, he's reading it for the first
he's
time.
reacting to it. Yeah.
I think he'll preview it. I think he'll pre-read it. But there's a whole team. There's a whole team that's written the speech. They've timed it. They've walked it through. And in fact, every single moment of the RNC convention is scripted. Nobody's getting up there cold. Nobody's reading a speech that the other people haven't read. Now, we were a little different as the Western Conservative Summit because, frankly, I didn't really care.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to we didn't have a big staff. There's like three of us. I didn't have time to review 50 plus speeches that were being made and then provide edits and updates. And this is the direction we want to go.
And I bet on a side note that many of the guests actually appreciated that. Not the micromanaging. It was better for them to come here. They felt more free.
So give us a call. I'd love to hear from you all. Phone lines are open 303-696-1971. What'd you like to hear from Donald Trump? Will continue next with You Choose the News. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Billy, let's give them YouTube the news.
Yes, the part of the unsmooth portion of the program. It is YouTube the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. Yes, I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because those in charge have no idea that we do something this stupid and ridiculous. So, shh, don't tell them. But do tell your friends about Roll 'em Out Shelves. They are a fantastic mother-son team that'll come to your home and solve your clutter issues. Bathroom, garage, basement, doesn't matter. Kitchen like they did in Jeff's house. RollEmOutShelves.com. RollEmOutShelves.com for your free in-home estimate. All righty. Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson, here are your choices this morning. Gentlemen, headline number 1, escape capsule, now an option. Headline number 2, Wizard of Oz concerns. Headline number 3, rescue marketing. Headline number 4, out of thin air. All righty, Mr. Hunt, choose carefully.
Let's do the escape capsule.
Oh, you would choose this one, wouldn't you? All righty, you did it. Escape capsule, now an option, especially if you live in Switzerland. A assisted dying group is now marketing the space age-looking Sarco capsule. It was unveiled in 2019, and you can get inside of it. It replaces the oxygen in the capsule with nitrogen, causing death by hypoxia. It would cost about $20 to use. The Last Resort organization said it saw no legal obstacle and hopes to get them to the public very, very soon, so we can all take our lives in peace.
Don't people do this in their garages?
I know. The thing is, the weird part is they say that you get into the capsule, and then there's an automated voice saying, press button to die.
Oh,
and then it asks for your confirmation, everything else. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And
is there a last second? Never mind. But
I know. I'm waiting for the first person that mixes up with their home tanning bed, and then we're really messed up. Yeah. So not good. I just thought the idea of home marketing the escape. Oh, jeez. Oh well. But it's an escape capsule. Escape whatever's getting you all twisted up that thinks you have to leave this mortal coil. Which again, we got other things for that. But we won't go to church this morning. But hey, hold on. Now, Blake Olson, News Department. Wizard of Oz concerns, rescue marketing, or out of thin air. What's your choice?
Rescue marketing.
Yes, rescue marketing. BBC has uncovered some questions about Adam Whittington. He is the founder of Project Rescue Children. He worked 2 decades as a Metropolitan Police officer, has recently found this project that goes all over the world to rescue kids that are in danger. They've been in Uganda, Kenya, Gambia, and some kids that weren't in danger. Yes, BBC has found out that one of the marketing plans, they used a baby that was never trafficked. In fact, lived with the mom at the time. But they led you to believe that it was a baby that they had actually rescued. And there are more questions. More than half the money that had been donated to some of the causes to rescue some of the babies has gone missing. Wonder where it went. Wonder where it went.
Wonder where. That's
horrible. It is horrible that he's doing this. So, yeah, but good for BBC to figure this out. All righty, final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Wizard of Oz concerns or out of thin air?
Wizard of Oz.
Yes, Wizard of Oz concerns. That's what they have in South Korea right now. They have Wizard of Oz concerns about Trader Joe's bagels. Really? The everything but the bagel is actually being slammed in South Korea. They're looking at banning it. Banned bagels. Why? Because the everything bagel contains poppies.
Oh, poppies.
Yes, you remember the field in Wizard of Oz where they all went sleepy time? Yes, poppies. An important ingredient in opium, but you eat too much of it, you can test positive in the drug test. South Korea is having a problem with the poppy seeds, and so they are trying to do a lot of banning and control of the Trader Joe's everything bagels. And unfortunately, Trader Joe's have also got the everything bagel seasoning, and it's becoming a problem as well. So, yeah, they're looking at saying, no seasoning. One woman from South Korea said that she had gone recently on a trip in the U.S., loved the seasoning and the bagels, brought them back in her luggage. She now had to talk to the authorities why she's not trafficking narcotics.
Wow.
I know. Lots of fun. Yay, us, everybody. All righty. That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. As always, I'm a giant loser, and Jeff and Blake are our winners. Back to you, sir.
All right. In the 7 o'clock hour, Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Actions, joining us. What is this new law Gavin Newsom signed into that Elon Musk is getting out for? We'll cover all this and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. And now we're really going to get crazy. We're going to go to California in just a second, but it's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in just a second, Jonathan Keller, who's the president of California Family Policy, Family Council, is going to be joining us on this new ban that came from Gavin Newsom. California bans school policies notifying parents of kids' gender identities. This was the straw that broke the back for Elon Musk, and he is now moving even X out of California now. He's tired of dealing with this. We're going to get some insight from folks who are having to deal with this, because it's probably coming to Colorado. So let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 61 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
But it's been so much fun. Oh my gosh. It's far exceeded my expectations, everyone around me's expectations. We were talking about this last night. Every speaker just takes it up a notch. And last night, JD Vance had a conversation with America, and he showed his heart. He showed who he really is, his family.
Heidi Ganahl, president of Rocky Mountain Voice at the RNC, on the show last hour. She saw Ohio Senator JD Vance accepting the Republican nomination for vice president. In his speech, he praised his running mate, former President Trump. And even though he opposed Trump in 2016, Vance has seen the light.
Prior to running for president, he was one of the most successful businessmen in the world. He had everything anyone could ever want in a life. And yet, instead of choosing the easy path, he chose to endure abuse, slander, and persecution. And he did it because he loves this country.
Now, the former president set to take the stage tonight to formally accept the GOP nomination. It'll be the first time he addresses the nation since the assassination attempt. Tonight's theme is Make America Great Once Again, and one of Trump's granddaughters spoke last night. She wanted the country to know that her grandpa is just like a lot of granddads out there.
I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see. To me, he's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking. He always wants to know how we're doing in school. When I made the high honor roll, he printed it out to show his friends how proud he was of me.
Guy Trump almost made a lot of us cry last night. Pretty moving. Meanwhile,
but it does appear once he gets in the car that he puts that mask on.
Puts the mask on. It appears that he might be getting a little help just getting into the car there. Hard to make out through the rain what exactly is going on there, but it does look like certainly the president's feeling the effects of, early in the stages of COVID. And
get the mask on now. President Biden has tested positive for COVID. BET's Ed Gordon asked him, what would it take for you to step down?
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided. And quite frankly, I think the only thing age brings a little bit of wisdom. And I think I've demonstrated that I know how to get things done for the country, in spite of the fact that we were told we couldn't get it done. But there's more to do, and I'm reluctant to walk away from that.
Now, over the weekend before the assassination attempt, Biden held a tense Zoom call with dozens of congressional Democrats concerned about his mental and physical fitness and re-election chances. Evidently, it was even worse than the debate. Biden gave rambling responses and lost his train of thought. He also reportedly got into a heated exchange with Colorado Democrat Jason Crow, who had questions about Biden's ability to lead. At the RNC last night, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn and Wyoming Senator John Barrasso trying to get answers from Kim Cheadle about failures by her agency at the rally.
You cannot hide from the people of the United States. You're the head of the Secret Service. You owe answers.
Cheadle saying this is not the time for questions. She left the floor with her agents and was followed by the senators yelling questions until she retreated to a closed room. During a closed-door Senate briefing, Barrasso says FBI Director Christopher Wray had some troubling things to report.
The shooter has been identified an hour before the shooting occurred as a suspicious person.
After the shooter was identified, agents lost sight of him, even though he was carrying a rangefinder and a backpack. Thousands of questions for Cheadle and the director of No Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, is coming next week. Funny how a story about Iran planning an assassination on Trump came out on Wednesday. Very interesting timing. Hit me, Arsenio.
You know, these aren't jokes. These are thoughts. These are things that make you say.
The co-founder of the Orlando Magic has passed away, Pat Williams. Love this guy. He was 84 years old, 58 in Parker and 59 in Lafayette, 61 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on this Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures will be upper 80s to near 90 today. Partly cloudy. A few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. Not as many as yesterday, but some will be around. Increasing coverage of thunderstorms. They're back more widespread on Friday, lower 90s. Highs will be in the 80s. That's it for the weekend with late-day thunderstorms continuing. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, the Washington Post that over in California, whatever happens to there comes here next week. California this week became the first state to prohibit school policies that require employees to report students' sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression without their consent. The law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday ensures schools can't require teachers and staff to notify parents of their children's LGBTQ identities. It takes aim at a growing conservative effort, they say, to require school districts to embrace yourself for this, to report students' pronouns or name changes, for instance, to parents. How dare we conservatives require teachers to notify us of things that our children may be doing, such to the effect that it may include them changing their entire identities. All right, now I'm fired up. Okay, joining us from California is Jonathan Keller, the president and CEO of California Family Council. Jonathan, I said this to you over and over again. I don't know how you do it. I'm glad you're still there. But my goodness, they're definitely securing your job having to deal with the lunacy coming there from California. Tell us what this new law ultimately means.
Well, hey, Jeff, great to talk with you. And Bill, great to meet you. I will say, the thing I always tell people living in California is it's not often fun, but at least it's never boring.
That's exactly right.
That's basically what it's like to try to work in any sort of policy or public arena. Look, Jeff, we've been dealing with crazy laws out of California for years. There's all sorts of nuts stuff. I mean, even before Gavin Newsom became governor, but it really has just accelerated these last 6 years. And this is one perfect example of that. AB 1955, I mean, you give a great overview of it, but I have to give you a little bit more of the backstory. I mean, essentially for several years now, California has been in an outright war with parents. They basically have been saying that if you are a parent in California, we know better than you do. You are probably abusive of your child, so we're going to hide information from you. We're going to lie to you. Jeff, we've even heard stories when it comes to this gender transition issue, that when a child decides they're going to change their gender, they're going to start identifying as something other than their biological sex, the school district will actually create two separate sets of records. They will have the official record that they use inside the school. That's what allows the child to play on whatever sports team they want, regardless of their gender, use whatever restrooms they want, regardless of their gender, use whatever locker room and shower they want, regardless of their gender. That's the thing that everybody in the school has access to, the teachers, the administrators, even the janitors, because, you know, the janitors need to know if you've got a boy showering in the girls' locker room. But then there's another school record. That one is the record that the parent submitted. That has the real birth certificate. That has the original documents. That only goes to one person, and that goes to the parents. I mean, they literally are creating entirely new structures to deceive and mislead parents. And literally, it's not that we're telling people with these policies that parents have to be the very first person to know, but Democrats are saying they can't even be the last person to know. The schools are basically deliberately keeping secrets from parents and keeping them in the dark. Jeff, we know that children who experience gender dysphoria, they often have a host of other mental or emotional difficulties that go along with that, including in some cases, tragically, thoughts of taking their own life. And the school district is saying that parents should not know about that they should not even have access to their children's mental and emotional health because it goes against some sort of woke ideology.
We're talking with Jonathan Keller. He's the president and CEO of California Family Council. Now, Jonathan, I've got a whole host of questions. I'm going to start with this. When I was growing up and I wanted to swing by the nurse's office for a little Advil, might have been having a headache, some sore muscles, something like that when I was in school, I couldn't get an Advil without them going, hold on, let me call your parents to see if I can dispense Advil to you. Now you're allowing them to have essentially completely secret identities. I mean, this is big. This is, if your child is identifying as a different gender, this is not something that is easy or just passing. This is a big change that's happening with your child. They're experiencing gender dysphoria. Where in the world do they get the right to be able to hide that from parents? Jonathan.
Well, Jeff, that's absolutely right. Essentially, again, exactly what you said, the left has basically started to view children as autonomous. I mean, this goes back, I remember a video on MSNBC several years ago. They used to have a host called Melissa Harris Perry. Some of you might remember her, but she had this infamous promo for the network. She was talking about, why MSNBC was such an important network and how they're advancing progressive values. And I don't remember any of those promos. I mean, it's a throwaway network. I don't think there's almost anything good that ever comes off of it. But almost 20 years later, I still remember this promo because it was so shocking, and it so revealed what the left really thinks about you and your children. And she essentially said, you can go find the commercial on YouTube. You just Google Melissa Harris Perry, children commercial. She essentially said, look, we need to get past the idea that children belong to their parents. We need to realize that children actually belong to whole communities. And that's why we need to be making better investments in, childcare and healthcare and schools, et cetera, et cetera. But the point that she said there, that is what the left believes. They think they don't have to talk to parents. They don't have to honor your wishes because in their mind, children are autonomous individuals who are not part of a family. They didn't come from a mother and a father. They belong to the community. And if they belong to the community, then, maybe that school principal, maybe that school counselor, maybe that advisor at the LGBTQ club on campus, they might know better. They might even love your child better than you do. So why should we have to tell you, mom or dad, about what's happening? That's not our role. And again, Jeff, in the aftermath of this law passing, I have seen so many progressives online when we have been tweeting about this or doing interviews about this. The immediate response from all of these progressives is, well, if you don't know what's going on in your child's life, there's probably a reason for that. Well, yeah, there is a reason. And it's because leftist administrators are hiding it from them.
Talking with Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Council. Now, look, anybody who's ever been to a barbecue with a bunch of little kids knows that there's no such thing as a community raising kids, because I've noticed like if you let's say you have 6 or 7 families that have all gotten together and we're going to have a barbecue and we're going to eat some food and dads are going to have some beers and everybody's going to hang out. What you come to realize in those scenarios is that nobody's watching the kids, right? Because unless there's somebody specifically tasked to watch the kids, nobody's watching the kids. But okay, now, Jonathan, I'm going to put myself in the position of the leftists because I've debated them down at the Colorado State Capitol on these issues. And I would like you to respond. There are times when a young person is experiencing genuine gender dysphoria. They believe that they are a different gender than the one they were born with. They come from oppressive religious backgrounds. They don't have the freedom to be able to explore this. And the only time they can is at school. And what you social conservatives want to do is to put into place mandates on the schools to report these children that are just exploring who they are genuinely, and you are preventing them from doing that and sending them back to abusive situations where their parents are going to harm them physically, possibly, spiritually, psychologically, from being able to explore their true selves. What is your response to that line of argument?
Well, look, I first want to say that as conservatives, we absolutely should have compassion on every child that may be experiencing some sort of abuse at home. And look, I'm not talking about leftist definitions of abuse where it's abuse if you don't get a smartphone at age 8, or it's abuse if you can't stay up too late at night and choose whatever you want to do. I'm talking about real physical, emotional, or tragically even sexual abuse. If that is actually present in a home, then 100%, every conservative that I know believes that there is a place in these situations for the government to step in and physically protect children from abusive parents. But Jeff, the problem is that in our current society, the left has defined disagreement as abuse. I mean, you look at the fact that they basically believe if you do not 100% affirm the delusional ideology that comes from leftism, that comes from wokeism, if you don't immediately hop to it and say, oh, you're a boy who doesn't necessarily like to shoot guns and play with trucks, golly, you must be a girl. Or you're a girl who's halfway athletic and you might like to be a little bit more masculine. Maybe you do like to shoot guns and well, golly, you must be a boy. The fact that we have lost all nuance on this issue, and if you disagree with this, if you disagree with the left, they're immediately going to label you, and not just a disagreeer, not just hateful, but going beyond that. I mean, Jeff, look, the phrase racist and things like that, that is absolutely played out. I don't think anybody believes that from the left anymore. But I think maybe the only word that is more hurtful and more harmful to a person in today's society, it's not to call them a racist. It's to call a parent and say that they are abusing their kids. I mean, that is a slanderous lie that I really can almost not think of anything that is more offensive, that the left is perverting and twisting what should be a true crisis and an emergency and using it to describe people who are not compliant with their twisted ideology.
Now, so what I think the argument and what I'm hearing you say is if there is actual abuse taking place, right? And I remember when we were debating conversion therapy down at the state capitol on this, and they would draw out, and so conversion therapy being the idea of if a young person comes to you under the age of 18 and says, I believe I'm gay, or I believe I'm trans and transitioning, and you as a parent or a religious leader say, hold on, we're going to abide by the Bible's teachings in this particular area. Let's talk about homosexuality, or let's talk about transing, or that type of thing. And you, I guess, prevent them from exploring that more. You're engaging in conversion therapy. But what they did was they brought out these like horror stories of people like being beaten with Bibles, or shown pornography and electrocuted, or put in ice baths to try to make them not gay anymore. And I remember I turned to One Colorado and I'm like, if y'all want to ban that, first of all, I think we do, because that sounds like abuse, but right. I'm willing to stand with you. I'm a Bible believing Christian. I don't think we win anybody over by beating them physically with Bibles. So right. I was willing to stand with them. But what I noticed was they used that and then jumped to this idea. And what we have now in the state of Colorado is if you're a counselor or a teacher or anything like that, and somebody comes and says, I think I might be a different gender, you are mandated by law to help them explore that rather than even question. So you can't question it, period. Right. You're in violation of law to even question it. So, go ahead.
So, Jeff, the thing is here, this response, 1955, the thing that's so insidious about it is that's been kind of the status quo for several years here in California, and I know in Colorado and other states as well. Well, finally, local parents, local school districts were starting to take the power back. They were passing these laws or these policies, not at the state level, because goodness knows we don't have that many Republicans and conservatives in Sacramento, but they were passing it school district by school district. And the left is so totalitarian, they could not even abide individual school districts passing these parental notification policies. They couldn't abide. I think we were only up to about 6 or 7 school districts. Jeff, there's over 900 school districts in California. We weren't even at 1% of the districts that had these policies yet. And the left is so authoritarian, so Marxist, that they said, no, we have to nip this in the bud. We're going to preempt local control. We're going to preempt moms and dads that elected these school boards in their local communities. And we're going to say, you may not do that. You cannot require teachers and school administrators to pass these policies. You cannot require that parents be notified. I mean, again, Jeff, this is a crazy thing. It's not even saying that the child can't use the restroom of their opposite gender. It's not saying that they can't choose to change their name or cross-dress. All these policies said was the parents can't be the last person to know. If the janitor knows, the mom and dad have to know. And even that was a bridge too far for these leftist activists.
Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Council. Now, this was one of the reasons that Elon Musk cited for wanting to leave the state of California. I know he's had his own personal issues with his children, and so he's deeply concerned about this. What are you hearing from families in California in light of this?
Well, I will be honest with you. My wife and I, this is a huge reason why we currently homeschool and why we will always homeschool as long as we live in the state of California. I mean, I know that there are a lot of families, though, Jeff, where that is not an option. And I think you're starting to see families, like you mentioned, Elon Musk, other families, that this is a real make or break moment for them. When they look at laws and policies like this that are squarely putting them in a target of whether or not they can afford to live in California and let their kids go to public school. I mean, I would just frankly tell you, if you're in California, if you're a parent, if there is any conceivable way that you can take your kids out of public school, whether it's homeschool, whether it's a Christian school, a private school, a charter school, IEP, whatever, I would urge you to look at that as much as possible. And if your family is in a financial situation where both parents have to work, you've got multiple kids in a school district that hates you as a parent and hates your values, as much as I want to be, we need reinforcements here in California, but at the same time, you got to look at doing what's best for you and your family. You have to look at, is there a better place that I can be to keep my family and my kids safe from this radical gender ideology?
Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Council, joining Jeff and Bill live. It's nice to meet you. We haven't talked before, Jonathan. I should warn you that in the Salem media family, I'm the problem child. I'm the square peg in the round hole. I'm unaffiliated, have been for 2 decades. I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican, and make things difficult for people on both sides. So it's really nice to meet you. Now, I've got a question for you. It's kind of a larger one. Why do we think these kids aren't coming to their parents and expressing either the idea that they feel they're homosexual or that they are in the wrong gender? Why do we think they're not talking to the parents?
Well, that's a totally fair question. And this is something that we definitely talked about when we were opposing the legislation. Look, I understand that kids of all ages, but especially when they're in junior high and high school, they can occasionally, I don't know if this was ever true with you, Jeff or Bill, but occasionally kids can have conflicts with their parents, especially when they are teenagers. And look, there were things that when I was in high school, I didn't tell my parents every thought that was going through my brain. I didn't tell them, who my latest crush was. I didn't tell them, the last stupid thing that I did necessarily. I probably hope they wouldn't find out. So I'm not saying that there is never a situation where a child might not need to talk to a trusted adult, a trusted friend, a trusted counselor. I get that. And again, like I mentioned before, in some very real tragic situations, there might actually be a case where there is some level of abuse that children are afraid. The problem that I see, Bill, is that there's been this effort by the left to completely equate any level of disagreement or non-affirmation with hate and abuse. And I mean, we see this all the time. You look at places like the Trevor Project, and you look at all these LGBTQ clubs. Essentially, what they're doing is saying, if your parent disagrees with you, if you don't think your parent is affirming, don't worry, we're a safe space. And I mean, we've now started to see this among celebrities as well. It's really creepy. These big celebrities that are trying to say they're pro-trans, going on at awards shows and in interviews and saying, look, I'm your mom now, or I'm your mother now. I'll be all of your moms if you're struggling with gender identity. Just look at me as your mom. And our good friend Katie Faust, I know, Jeff, you know her very well, I think, as well, a wonderful advocate, runs an organization called Them Before Us. She goes, no, you're not their mom. You didn't wake up with them at 2 a.m. when they were puking and help clean them up and hold them while they were crying. You weren't there when they were born. You weren't there when they, lost their first boyfriend or lost their first girlfriend and, needed a shoulder to cry on. You're not their mom. And the fact that you have so many leftists that are, frankly, just lying to these kids and saying, if there's any disagreement that your parents have with you, you don't have to listen to them. You can basically walk away from your family because we'll create a better one for you here at the LGBTQ club at school.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I agree with you earlier, Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Council, about the dual records that they are keeping, one for the parent and then one for the school, is absolutely and 110% wrong. The problem, and we don't have, unfortunately, running out of time, don't have enough time to delve deeper into the crux of where I see this issue is I feel that we have people on the conservative side and people on the liberal side that are both arguing and not necessarily focused on the kids. While they feel they're focused on the kids, they're yelling at each other. I hear from the conservatives, this is all about school indoctrination, and these schools are trying to turn your kids trans. And then I hear from the liberals that, oh my God, the parents don't respect it, and they're not going to allow transition, and they don't respect their kids. And nobody is asking the kids in this conversation. And I think that's where we're missing this, is just like when Jeff was talking about the conversion therapy and bringing up all these horrible examples, the same thing happens in my mind on the conservative side when we talk about the indoctrination. We have one here in Colorado where a school group tried to transition a girl without telling the parents, and they lied about the direction of the group. That's crap.
Right.
And that's the problem that I have in the entire conversation. We don't, and unfortunately, we don't have time to get into it today, but I hear a little bit from you about the idea that, yes, we can come together and listen, but that's where I think we're missing the conversation is if we were more accepting of the kids, I think we would have better outcomes, because all I see two teams fighting over a football, and that football being the kids. And they're not necessarily looking at what's best for the football all the time. And I agree with you that of the celebrities coming in saying, hey, if you're not loved, if you're not here, I'm your mom, I'm your community, can be just as detrimental as the others. I wish that we would have some conversations sometimes and ask the kids how they're feeling and what they want out of this. But I appreciate the time this morning, man. I hope you come back. This has been a great conversation.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you need a crazy dispatch from California, if you want to warn, and look, I know Governor Polis is not necessarily our friend on a lot of different issues, but I still have to tell you, I would probably trade him for Gavin Newsom about 9 days out of 10. So anytime you want me to come back and talk about the craziness, the weird blue state connection we all share, I'm happy to do it. Thank you for having me on today.
Hey, that's great. And just remember, though, our governor does sometimes ask Kim Kardashian for legal advice. So not always the best.
Jonathan Keller, President and CEO of California Family Council. You can learn more about California Family Council by going to californiafamily.org, californiafamily.org. He's currently on a tour with pastors. Thank you for taking time to join us today, Jonathan.
Awesome. Jeff and Bill, great to be with you both this morning. God bless. And Jeff, tell Nicole I said hello, and we'll hope to see you guys sometime soon.
That sounds great.
Have a great
Jonathan
day.
Keller, President and
Cool.
CEO of California Family Council. All right, Billy, how's that back and neck
Dude,
working
I got to
out?
tell you, man, this thing sucks. My back is awful. I recently went and found a team of doctors at Balance Well Space, and they took some x-rays. I've been having some back problems for years. They looked at it. Guess what's happening? I have two of my vertebrae that are fusing. It is that bad. And I understand your pain. You've got that daily pain too. You've got neuropathies. You've got things that are trying to be fixed by chiro. I want you to talk to the team that I trust, Balance Well Space, because they're making a huge difference in my life. I'm going to go see them later today. Earlier this week, I saw them. This is the deal. You walk into the office, one stop, one appointment, everything taken care of. Inside of Balance Well Space, you've got chiropractic, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections. I could keep going, but the list is way too long. Plus, they have a lot of cutting edge technologies as well. On Tuesday, I'm there. I start out with a 10-minute easy light rehab workout. We move to traction for my back, traction for my knee. We then turn around and do trigger point injections on a problem I'm really having in my back, and then something I'm having in my neck. We then move to a really weird electronics device that shocks the crap out of my back, but gives me a nice massage and has loosened up muscles like things I haven't ever experienced before. Then I get a chiropractic adjustment all after that. One stop, an hour, I'm done. It's that easy. That's how easy it is with Balance Well Space. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, Dr. Sarah, the entire team will take care of you. And that's the nice part, is you have a team working on your wellness. This is about having all your doctors work together. After your evaluation, they draw up a plan for you. It's a custom plan only dealing with your issues, your pain. Balancewellspace.com. From there, they do regular checkups. They evaluate you. When's the last time that your medical team talked together about you? Yeah, exactly. I thought so. Same thing here. That's why I found Balance Well Space. Now, they're located in Lowry, brand new offices right across the street from Hangar 2. Plenty of parking. Couldn't be easier to get in and out. Check them out today. Talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, balancewellspace.com. They are changing my life, and I know they can do the same for you. Balancewellspace.com.
All right. Thanks so much, Billy. Glad you're getting that help, man.
Dude, it's amazing. I got to tell you, I mean, my back is shot. I mean, they looked at those, x-rays, and they looked at bottom two vertebrae in my back, and they're like, what did you do? And I explained to them the issue that I've had and why almost 30 years ago I had back surgery. I've been dealing with this for that long. And they're like, these two bottom vertebrae are in serious trouble. These things are fusing together. And if we don't create some separation and get some stuff in there, you're not going to be able to walk in a few years. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. So we talked about it. And I'm telling you, my back, I've gone out, I've done yard work, everything else. The day after, it takes me sometimes 20 minutes or so just to warm up. I feel like I'm 85 sometimes. But now, every once in a while, a small little tinge. Every once in a while. And I'm 3 weeks into this, and I feel better than I have in over a decade, man.
Balance well spaced.
Yeah,
glad to hear it.
Well,
we'll continue with all RNC coverage coming from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden is self-isolating in Delaware after testing positive for COVID-19. Biden had been campaigning in Las Vegas as he tries to fight off calls for him to step aside as the Democrats' candidate for president. The White House says the president is, quote, vaccinated and boosted and experiencing mild symptoms. On Wednesday, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff added his voice to those calling for Biden to step aside. Special counsel Jack Smith is trying to keep Donald Trump's classified documents case alive. He filed an appeal on Wednesday after a Trump-appointed judge threw the case out earlier in the week. Tony Waterman has more.
Jack Smith made his appeal to the 11th Circuit, a court that has previously overturned rulings in this case from Judge Eileen Cannon. On Monday, she dismissed the case, saying Smith's appointment was unconstitutional because only presidents or Congress can appoint special counsels, not a U.S. Attorney General. And this is an argument that Trump's lawyers have also been making. Of all of the cases against Trump, this one is considered the strongest. He's pleaded not guilty to 40 counts related to his mishandling of classified documents after leaving the White House.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering all things RNC convention as they come into the final day of the work. Now, Billy, look, I know all the commentary coming out right now is that Republicans seem unified, Democrats seem disarrayed, and they're not wrong, but we have to remember, especially us conservatives, that there's also going to be another convention.
Yeah.
And the Democrats have 6 weeks at this point, maybe not that, maybe 4 weeks, to be able to build that unity.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Joe Biden. I know a lot of people, Blake included, think that they're going to swap them out. COVID may be the final straw that breaks the camel's back on that. But they're going to have a moment to be able to build some unity. And to their credit, Donald Trump unifies Democrats.
Yeah, he does.
Against him.
Yes, he does. And it is. Okay, this is interesting. I'll get into this in a second. While we were on vacation and Peter Boyles was admirably filling in for us, and we appreciate that, I had an interesting thought about voter behavior in this election that we haven't discussed yet. But the thing is, I was never convinced that Biden was going to step aside or be moved aside until the debate performance. And it changed the narrative. That to me was like, okay, that's a narrative change.
You can't hide it.
Yeah.
The entire world sees it.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to recover from, and it's not like you can come back. Second debate, as you know, never watched as much as the first one. Yep. It's always difficult to remake that first impression, as your mom told you.
And his strategy to try to recover from it was to go do interviews that became disasters themselves.
Yep, they became very bad. And the window that I set after the debate was the medical issue. That's the thing that gives him the out card, and now we have the COVID thing. And recently in a conversation, he mentioned any medical reason would make him step aside. Now, if you wanted to behind the scenes come to him and say, Joe, this is the time, etc., then you either realistically or just invent the medical condition, whatever it is, and you have him step aside. That allows you the grace to not say, hey, we're throwing him off the bus, we're voting him off the island, get out of here, but allows the transition. And then he can do the, passing of the wand. He can go ahead and hand the crown to the next person. The problem the Democrats have is who?
Well, I think they're at this point only one person.
Ooh, let's see. Okay, on the count of three. Oh, I was going to say we said together. Yes, Kamala. Kamala's the only choice that is realistic at this point. Yeah, and that's
because they didn't go through a primary. And as I'm reflecting on this, I think the fact that the Republicans did, we got it out of our system.
Oh, that's a really good point.
You have the Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis. No one's going, well, what if? Wouldn't we be in a better position if we just put Ron DeSantis? We got it out of our system. Democrats never did.
No, they never did.
And so they can't put a Gavin Newsom up. They can't put a Jared Polis up. They can't. It's got to be.
It has to be Kamala, and it's because of what you and I had talked about weeks ago, if not months ago. The idea of not allowing the Democrat primary voters a voice. Yeah. That's going to be the preventative measure that will allow them to bring a Gavin Newsom, a Jared Polis, or anybody else up on stage. So it's got to be Kamala, and it's got to be a passing of the torch. The real problem, and again, Democrats, luckily for Republicans, are not very strategic sometimes outside of Colorado as far as campaigning. Not good at all. Just like when they chose Hillary Clinton because it was, air quotes, her turn. Yeah, not that she was the strongest. Exactly. It was his turn as well. And you see how well that turns out. Same thing here is that I believe Biden, he was going to be the transitional president. If he would have stepped aside here and we would have had a Democrat and a Republican primary at the same time, that would have been a lot of fun. And it would have created a better dynamic for the Democrats going forward. Now it's about replacing the dude that we've already chosen. It's a bad narrative for them. And the only choice, you're right, the only choice is Kamala. And that has its positives and has its negatives. Yeah. Because she'll look good.
I'd love to hear a positive. She is so far down. I think she's below any other vice presidential.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. The issue is going to be that if you show her versus the 78-year-old dude, there's your issue of age versus youth. It's the exact opposite. It's if you take what the Republicans have been doing and you flip it 180 degrees. Now the Republicans have to defend the old guy. That's the basic advantage that Kamala gives them right away. And even though she has low approval ratings right now, she does have a decent resume that you can run in ads and other things because she has been a district attorney. She was the AG of California. She was a senator for longer than Vance has been. And so she has more public service than both Trump and Vance combined. So there is a narrative there. However, the Democrats have done such a poor job in reinforcing her persona over the previous 4 years, she may not be able to dig out of that hole. And I go back to the very first year when they didn't send her immediately to the border once they made her border czar, whatever the hell they named her. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but the fact that she didn't at least do the photo ops, how hard was that? To just go down there and shake the hands, kiss the babies. Job. Yes. Why? And most one job. Exactly. And most of the vice presidential stuff is performative anyway. Why couldn't you go? And again, thank you for not doing it because that would have really helped her. But that's part of the problem is, the Democrats effed up, what they're going to do with Kamala. They messed up the entire narrative with her. And so now they got to figure out if they can dig out from it. I don't think they can.
Kamala Harris likely picking up. Joe Biden's now got COVID. He's going to take some time away to recover. But here's the thing, Billy, I've been thinking about Joe.
Yeah.
He's built his entire life just pressing forward. Just keep on keeping on. Yeah. Even in spite of the oppositions. And think about how bad things were for Donald Trump in January and February with all the court cases and the indictments. And he's sitting in a cold room in Manhattan and things look terrible for Republicans. And now 3.5 months later, he's, on cloud nine.
Yep.
There's still a lot that can happen between now and November. We'll continue to track that. Hey, want to talk to you about my friends at Roll 'em Out Shelves. I've gotten to know Joyce and Brent Tolliver personally. Absolutely delightful people to be able to work with. They're the mom and son dynamic duo, leaving satisfied customers wherever they go. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With Roll 'em Out Shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. We've had them installed. They're wonderful. We use them every single day, and they give us full access to the back of the cabinets, which we didn't have before. Listen to some of these overjoyed customers, giving them all 5-star reviews. We are so happy with our kitchen that we're now planning to do our bathroom as well. Joyce and Brent listened to our needs, stayed on schedule, and found solutions to our specific problems. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Give them a call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to go back to the RNC convention, talk with Greg Clugston. He's the White House News Correspondent for Salem Media. We'll get some analysis on what happened last night and what he expects tonight. In the 9 o'clock hour, Tom Tradup's going to join us. He's the Vice President of News and Talk Programming at Salem Radio. I think he sent us a video, didn't he, Billy?
Yeah, he did. Hang on a sec here. Let me find in the magic screen.
Sorry,
here.
I threw that right at you.
Worries.
Cold.
It just wasn't up there. Okay, here it is. Here's Tom.
Okay, here we are at the Pfizer Forum for the 2024 big night. Trump will be right there tonight, and it's going to be awesome. So Jeff and Bill, we're excited about you following the convention all week on KNUS, and we've been happy to be here for you. God bless.
Getting wall-to-wall coverage coming from the RNC. Earlier in the 6 o'clock hour, we heard the Colorado perspective with Heidi Ganahl. And that was good. That was really good. I think she said it was a late night last night. And Tom, it's a giant Republican party, so they're having some fun.
Oh, yeah. And Tom on the phone has been sending me all sorts of pictures. You know, we talked about yesterday, it's Disneyland, and you walk around, it's like you meet all the characters. That's exactly it. He's just flooding the show phone with all sorts of pictures of him and all the cool people there. It's really cool to see. I'm a little jealous, just a little.
It's a time to be inspired as a Republican to come together, to wear the funny little elephant hats and the Trump shoes and all that stuff. And just
the nerd part of me loved that today.
The cosplay. You talked about that yesterday.
Yep, I love
the cosplay.
Yep.
So here's a great text. Man, this is a good one. 8422. How ironic. The Dem machine used COVID to try to destroy President Trump, and now they are using it against their own. Scranton Joe.
That's interesting. That is interesting and insightful, because this COVID infection does give him, again, real or imagined, that step out. It can be, this is, I've got the long COVID. I've got this. This is going to be, the best thing for me and for the country is that I can't take this on physically anymore.
The demands on the job and to run for president requires a tremendous amount of energy and health, and I just don't have that right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Kamala to run it. Oh, my goodness. All right. Greg Clugston's up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It is Thursday, July 18th, and you've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. It's going to be, about 88 degrees today, so nice and warm. Back up, but probably bringing in some thunderstorms, so watch out there. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and in this case, from the heart of the RNC convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm going to give you all those details and more coming up in just a second. Greg Clugston, the White House News Correspondent for our Salem, our parent company, will be giving us some insight into what happened last night and what to expect today. They've been giving us insight all throughout the week. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Tom Tradup will be joining us as well. So you're going to want to stick with us as we provide all the details on what you're going to hear tonight, what's important, what is Donald Trump going to deliver. It is a big night. In fact, it's the biggest night for Republicans between now and the election in November. So stick with us over the next few hours. And then following us, you got Charlie Kirk, you've got Sebastian Gorka, you've got Dennis Prager. It's an absolute, and then Mark Levin, great lineup all day long, providing you what you need to know coming from the Republican National Convention. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 65 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s, maybe 90 degrees today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Can't afford to pay more for groceries, more for gas, more for rent, and that's exactly what Joe Biden's economy has given them.
Ohio Senator JD Vance accepting the Republican nomination for Vice President last night at the RNC. He praised his running mate, former President Trump, even though he opposed Trump in 2016. Vance has seen the light and told some great stories, especially a few about his mama.
Now, my mama died shortly before I left for Iraq in 2005. And when we went through things, we found 19 loaded handguns. They were... Now, the thing is, they were stashed all over her house, under her bed, in her closet, in the silverware drawer. And we wondered what was going on. And it occurred to us that towards the end of her life, Mamaw couldn't get around so well. And so this frail old woman made sure that no matter where she was within arm's length of whatever she needed to protect her family. That's who we fight for. That's American spirit.
And the former president set to take the stage tonight to formally accept the GOP nomination. It'll be the first time he addresses the nation since the assassination attempt. Tonight's theme is Make America Great Once Again. So that would be MAGA, TDS against MAGA people.
But it does appear once he gets in the car that he puts that mask on.
Puts the mask on. It appears that he might be getting a little help just getting into the car there. Hard to make out through the rain what exactly is going on there, but it does look like certainly the president's feeling the effects of, early in the stages of COVID. And
where's Fauci when you need him? Get your mask on. President Biden has tested positive for COVID. BET's Ed Gordon asked him, what would it take for you to step down?
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem.
Uh-oh.
But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided.
Over the weekend, before the assassination attempt, Biden held a tense Zoom call with dozens of congressional Democrats wishing to dump Biden. He gave rambling responses and lost his train of thought. He also reportedly got into a heated exchange with Colorado Democrat Jason Crow, who had questions about Biden's ability to lead. Where have these guys been the last 3 or 4 years? All right, NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis is demanding accountability after being removed from a United Airlines flight in handcuffs in front of his family last week. According to Davis, 6 FBI and law enforcement officers boarded the plane for what the FBI said was a report of a violent assault.
They come right towards me. And at that point, my mind is like, what the heck is going on? I'm in shock that this guy is actually putting handcuffs on me. I was powerless. I couldn't do anything. I would want to know why. Why would you want to ruin a man's life like that? And I didn't want him to answer those questions in front of my children, like look them in the eyes and tell them why they tried to harm, destroy their dad.
Davis was traveling from Denver to California with his wife and their 3 kids. Davis says he simply tapped a flight attendant on the shoulder after the flight attendant, failed to acknowledge his son asking for a cup of ice. The lawyer for Davis says United Airlines apologized for the incident, and that's not enough. United says that they're sorry and that to the athlete, and they said it removed the flight attendant from duty while they closely reviewed the matter. Jonathan Keller, president of the California Family Council, on with Jeff and Bill last hour, and Gavin Newsom in California added again. Newsom signed a law designed to keep parents in the dark about gender issues.
Children who experience gender dysphoria, they often have a host of other mental or emotional difficulties that go along with that, including in some cases, tragically, thoughts of taking their own life. And the school district is saying that parents should not know about that they should not even have access to their children's mental and emotional health because it goes against some sort of woke ideology.
And because of that, Elon Musk is leaving California for Texas. The co-founder of the Orlando Magic has passed away. Pat Williams, he was awesome, great owner. He was 84, 62 in Arvada, and 63 in Larkspur, 65 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures will be upper 80s to near 90 today. Partly cloudy. A few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. Not as many as yesterday, but some will be around. Increasing coverage of thunderstorms. They're back more widespread on Friday, lower 90s. Highs will be in the 80s. That's it for the weekend with late-day thunderstorms continuing. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Big night at the RNC convention. JD Vance takes the stage, nominated for vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party. He has to deliver, and he has to deliver in a big way. A lot of people didn't know who he was. And so he steps on that stage and for about 25 minutes introduces the entire nation to himself and to his vision, to his background, to what he's going to do in partnership with Donald Trump. To provide some analysis for us, Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem Media. Greg, what did you think of Vance's speech last night?
Hey, good morning to you and Jeff and Bill this morning. It was a well-delivered speech. It seemed to be very well received by the convention goers in the hall last night. It was not the most rousing speech of the day, of the night, or the week, but that's not necessarily what the purpose was. He is a storyteller. JD Vance is a storyteller. Obviously, he had a bestseller with his book back in 2016, Hillbilly Elegy, and he was lifting from his life story and from the pages of that very book last night when he was trying to, as you just said, introduce himself, his background, his family, what he went through, and how that has shaped his worldview, his political approach, and how that meshes with what the Donald Trump agenda is going forward. So it wasn't one of those kind of rah-rah speeches, although there was a lot of energy in the room because people started chanting, about his grandmother and JD's mother was in the room. And at one point, when he was talking about his mom, the crowd started, chanting JD's mom, JD's mom. So they were very into it. They were very receptive. And he's a very good speech giver. He seemed very comfortable on the stage. He had a few riffs back and forth with the crowd, and it was very well received by the convention.
Yeah, here's a guy who's 39 years old, relatively unknown. And what I felt, and look, it's a 20-minute plus speech, and so you're going to go into all different aspects and stuff. But for a lot of people, it's just how they feel about the speech when they walk away. And I found myself feeling that he was comfortable in that position. He didn't seem nervous. And here's a guy that, stepping into the shoes of being a vice presidential candidate. We need to see him being comfortable in that role. If there's something, God forbid, to happen to Donald Trump, he would have to step in to the America First agenda, become the president of the United States. I felt that was communicated, and he came across as somebody with, and my family comes from Illinois, with that very Midwestern, as you mentioned, Greg. He wasn't shouting. It wasn't kind of an East Coast New Yorker type of, and it wasn't a California laid back. It was like a proper, polite Midwest type of speech. That seems what was communicated from JD Vance.
Sure. I lived for a number of years in the Midwest as well. And he was really, pushing a lot of, and he named a lot of those very important battleground states, not by accident, but by the way, he's from Ohio. He mentioned next door, Pennsylvania, next door, the other way, Michigan. He mentioned Wisconsin. Here we are in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee at the convention. He mentioned those key battleground states, but he wove that very effectively into his remarks. One of the sound bites I used in one of my reports for SRN News last night was his line right near the very end of his remarks when he said that he made this promise that he would never forget where he came from. And that seemed to be really the theme throughout his message as he addressed the convention.
Talking with Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem Media. The other big kind of conversation happening, particularly on social media after last night, was the Gold Star families. Can you tell the folks what that was all about? And I mean, they spent 20 minutes on stage, which is, generally unheard of. Most of those speeches are 5 minutes. This was a very poignant moment during the convention. Can you give us some insight into what was happening on stage with the Gold Star families?
I am hard pressed to remember witnessing at a convention a more emotional packed 20 minutes on stage. It was stunning. It was on one hand extremely somber and serious because the Gold Star families there from representing the Americans who were killed with the Afghanistan withdrawal in the summer of 2021, and their message was not just they lost their family members, but that they feel like they have been ignored by President Biden and his administration. And family member after family member mentioned that Joe Biden has never even said out loud the names of those fallen military members from Afghanistan. And so there was a very moving video package that was presented first with interview clips of a lot of these Gold Star families. And then following that, here they came out on stage, and the place erupted with respectful applause, for them. But then also they repeated really a searing message that Joe Biden left them behind. And so it was very interesting. You had a 98-year-old V-Day war veteran also on the stage, talking about how he would be ready to enlist if Donald Trump wanted him to go back into duty, and he brought the House down as well. So it was a very interesting moment there, and a lot of people are still talking about that today.
So, one of the strategies with a convention is you want to showcase everyday Americans, right? We see the professional politicians all the time on media. They're doing press conferences, they're doing campaign rallies and speeches. But in many cases, with a convention, you uniquely get to see people that are not professional politicians. They get a little nervous sometimes on stage. They're speaking to big crowds. Why is it important for a convention to put up everyday Americans to communicate to the nation their policies at a political convention like this?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when you look at the presented speaking schedule that the RNC is putting out each day, and we should have that here in the next couple of hours for tonight's official lineup, it'll say someone's name and then their title. So it'll say the name and member of Congress, name governor, name CEO. And then all dotted throughout that schedule, all this week, every single night this week, has been a name of a person, comma, and then it says everyday American. And that's exactly the phrase that the RNC is using. And then these people come out and they briefly, for, as you mentioned also, 5 or 6 minutes, tell their story, tell what the government has either done for them or not done for them, and how that fits into their support for the Republican Party and for the Trump-Vance ticket. And so it's a reinforcement for millions of people at various times and places across the country tuning in and getting snippets and clips or watching full coverage of this convention to see that there are, in fact, everyday Americans who feel the impact of the decision that the country is going to be making on Election Day.
Talking with Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem. Greg, they also last night went to Donald Trump's grandchild, their oldest, Don Jr.'s daughter. I thought she did a wonderful job. But I've also noticed an ongoing theme each night is we want to personalize Donald Trump. We've all seen the news coverage. We've all seen the mean tweets. But how about him as a father? How about him as a grandfather? And humanizing him and really covering that aspect of his personality. Do you think that was effective last night? Do you think his granddaughter speaking right as Don Jr. was taking the stage was a good move?
Yeah, it seemed to be, certainly was well received here in Milwaukee. And I would think, most people tuning in, hearing a 17-year-old girl a young woman talk about her grandfather. She added some humor. She said that, she looks at Donald Trump as a grandpa, as just like any other kid would, view their grandparent, somebody who gives them candy and snacks. And she joked, that he asks about her golf game, and then in return he talks a lot about his own golf game. Little kind of moments and tidbits like that people can really relate to. But you're absolutely right in saying that there is an effort, and I think this is true at most conventions, to show kind of a personal, more human side to candidates, whether it's at the top of the ticket or the VP running mate, to show them in very personal terms. We heard from the RNC co-chair, who happens to be the daughter-in-law of Donald Trump, Laura Trump, the other night as well. And we're hearing, we heard from Donald Jr. Of course, his approach was a little bit different in talking about more of the policies and the agenda and that kind of thing. But this is I would say a staple of conventions for both parties over the years to at some point, in some cases repeatedly, really emphasize the humanness and the personality of that person from those who know him in a private way, away from the political spotlight.
Now, tonight is the penultimate evening. This is the night that the Republican nominee for president typically speaks. In this case, it'll be Donald Trump. It's a big first public address since the assassination attempt last weekend. Yesterday we were discussing, is he going to come out and go fight, 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 or is he going to come out for a call for unity? It seems that last night, Donald Trump Jr.'s message was the fight, fight, fight one. He talks about being Trump tough. I thought that was a great line. America is Trump tough. Does Donald Trump need to come out tonight and talk about fighting? Can he strike a more unity-oriented speech? What should people expect tonight, both from Donald Trump, and have you heard anything about other speakers we may be seeing tonight?
Yeah, real quick on other speakers. We have known for a few days now that the person who is going to introduce Trump tonight is the UCF president, Dana White. So he might represent the fight, fight, fight that you're asking about. And then we've also heard some reporting. I can't confirm this yet, and we haven't seen the final schedule, but there is some reporting out that Hulk Hogan is also going to be on the program tonight. So we'll have to see how that plays. I mean, people like that would get this crowd really energized. The whole idea of unifying the country and the fight, I guess it's possible to do two things at once, although sometimes they can be mutually exclusive. It's interesting because the instinct of Donald Trump last weekend, after he was shot and was being taken off the stage there in Pennsylvania by his Secret Service detail, was to pump his fist and say, fight, fight, fight. And certainly that has resonated here with convention goers. But then within hours, he was calling for unity and said that he had ripped up his original acceptance speech for tonight and wrote an entirely new speech, one that is going to be emphasizing unity. So we're just going to have to wait and see tonight to see exactly what kind of message and what the tone is of Donald Trump and his remarks. I would say that yesterday was really a break from the first 2 days in terms of the unity message. There was a lot more, I would say, political red meat that was given to the convention yesterday. I think aside from the first night when Donald Trump entered the convention hall for the first time, one of the biggest, if not the second biggest, reactions from the crowd of applause and a standing ovation was yesterday for Peter Navarro early in the evening. He had just left federal prison yesterday morning after serving 4 months in prison for obstruction of justice charges with Congress over the January 6th investigation. Here he was fresh out of federal prison, representing what a lot of MAGA Republicans see as politically based persecution of Trump and his allies. And he got a thunderous response from this crowd. And he delivered a lot of non-unity messages in his speech. And so we heard a little bit more of that yesterday. And it'll be interesting to see exactly the approach Donald Trump takes tonight.
Well, crap. Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem Media. That was the question I was just going to ask. I was going to ask who that mid-card person is that surprised everybody, that blew the house off, and then you go ahead and you do it before I ask my question. Darn it. We're going to talk about this off air.
Well, you beat me with the yesterday with the sneakers and the question about all that. So I had to one up you today.
Yeah, well done, sir. Well done. What other mid-card speaker surprised you? What other mid-card speaker really was able to connect with the audience in your mind?
In addition to Peter Navarro, you had Tom Homan. He is the former ICE director during the Trump administration. And obviously, the effort, the theme was talking about security and foreign policy matters. There's been such an incredible emphasis on the southern border, not surprisingly, and the immigration issue and how the failures of the Biden administration have been really amplified here at the RNC. And Homan, I think he followed by a few minutes Peter Navarro. So the crowd was already juiced up with, kind of feeling like there's kind of grievance in the air a little bit. And then you had Tom Homan come and talk about essentially mass deportations being a part of the agenda of what Donald Trump wants to do in terms of sending those who have come illegally into this country back outside of the United States. And you had at a couple of times during during these speeches yesterday that were focused on immigration. You had the crowd chanting, "Send them back, send them back." So again, a different kind of message and tone that we heard on Monday and Tuesday was starting to kind of filter into to the speeches yesterday. So I would say Navarro and Homan really were the kind of the undercards who really got the place juiced up.
Now, Greg, I want to ask you this question. Maybe it's tradition, but where's Melania Trump?
It's a very good question. She has been pretty much absent from the campaign trail this entire election cycle. And it was announced last week that she would not have a speaking role at this convention. She did speak at the virtual convention from the South Lawn of the White House on the final night in 2020. She also spoke in 2016, but she is nowhere to be seen. Now, will she be there in the VIP box tonight when her husband is giving the speech? I don't know. Will she come out onto the stage after the speech along with other family members during the balloon drop? I don't know. But there's been all sorts of conjecture, not just this week, but for several years, about sort of the nature of their marriage, their relationship, and it's a lot of conjecture. And a lot of us, if we don't know them and their family personally, we don't really know, the answers there or the nature. But it is kind of a glaring omission to have her not there for these first opening nights. If she's not there tonight, that would be pretty stunning, I think, in terms of what we've expected in modern conventions for our Republican or for our presidential candidates.
Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem Media, joining Jeff and Bill live from the convention in Milwaukee. We appreciate your time so much, sir. I want to talk about what's going on outside of the convention. We spent a lot of time talking about inside. I want to talk about the protesters. I had read that there was some sort of a clown convention nearby, and a bunch of clowns actually showed up to protest for a while, which, again, regardless of what they're protesting, I'm in for a clown protest just because the visual itself is worth it for me. What has been the most ridiculous, unusual, or just dumb protest that you've seen outside the convention?
Well, to be honest, there is so much sort of peripheral activity going on in the immediate surroundings of the arena hall, and then actual protest zones, which are up to a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile away from the arena, outside of the security perimeter. So I haven't had a chance to hit all of these spots, but the idea of clowns protesting, obviously clowns for some people are very scary to begin with. Some people are freaked out by clowns. So that may have been a turnoff to some people. You do see all kinds. We have seen some protesters as we were walking in through security who were saying that the GOP loves Israel, but does not love the Jewish people themselves. And so you see all kinds, whether it's religious based, whether it's politically based, whether apparently it's clown based. But obviously people have their ideas. You do see a lot of people in various T-shirts and holding signs. There are people outside the security perimeter that have bullhorns. Some are kind of street preachers, and others are denouncing the Trump policy and the Republicans in general. So it's a wide collection of people that gather on the fringes of these kinds of events. And my guess is in a few weeks in Chicago, there are going to be some other protests that would be equally as colorful in Chicago.
Oh, that's fantastic, Greg. Now, what I'm gonna prep this for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we want to know about what the best T-shirt is you see tonight with Donald Trump, and who has the best outfit. Again, we're gonna go election cosplay. I want to see it because it's a big night tonight. I want to see who's got the best election cosplay when we chat with you tomorrow.
I'll keep my eyes open and report back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent for Salem. Thank you so much for taking time all week. We'll look forward to the final report tomorrow, but thank you for taking time to inform the listeners here at 710 KNUS in Denver as to what you're seeing and experiencing at the RNC convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
My pleasure. Have a great day, guys.
All right. Well, like I mentioned, we'll get one more update from Greg tomorrow. Man, to have a White House correspondent on this show, that is so cool. We're reaching another level. Billy, I want to talk to you all about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He would be my first call if I ever got injured in a car accident for a few reasons. Number one, he's with me on the values. As I mentioned, pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian. He has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who have been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. So not only is he with us on the values, he's a titan in the courtroom. He's trusted so much that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. But look, he's not only reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancapluslaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Because everyone uses it. For every day from Lending Road, everyone uses this strap. Stay off I-225. If they haven't been on I-25 yet, don't go to work. Go home. We advise you to stay home today. It'd be better.
Do you think we've moved past the idea of working at home in the COVID times?
I think there's going to be a weird balance. Here's the thing. I think it's going to be a delineation. The people that are higher up on the totem pole will be allowed to work at home.
Like they always have.
Yes, exactly.
They don't just work from home; they work from the Ritz-Carlton.
Exactly. That's the thing. Is I think it'll benefit them. And I still say for all the employers that are struggling to get their employees back into the office, the easiest thing to do is this: give the employees that come back to the office a 10 or 15% raise. Say, there's your incentive.
There you go.
Yeah, we pay you this much more to be in the office.
Yeah.
That's it. The other part is all the people that work at home, and I do a lot of my work at home. It's really shocking when you figure out that you have to pay for your own coffee and internet. That's no fun. That's no fun at all. I know my other job is saving like almost $500 a month. You're not having to pay for our coffee. So, yeah.
So we're talking all things RNC convention. We just got an update from the White House News Correspondent for Salem, Greg Clugston. Good text message here from 8422. Man, they're sending some good ones in today. My prediction is that we're going to see a more serious, very humble Donald Trump tonight. He is going to talk more about his future plans and less about the failures of the past 3.5 years. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. So here's the question, right? You have Donald Trump with probably the most unique moment of his entire career.
Yeah.
It's his first national address following an assassination attempt that took place over the weekend. There had not been a previous assassination attempt in 42 years.
And he's also trying to regain the presidency, which we've never seen before.
Right.
So it's a dual 1-2 punch about what he's doing tonight.
So you're going to have, millions of people tuning in to see what he says. Can he restrain? So think about what Greg just said. Think about Dana White and Hulk Hogan. All right.
Yeah.
So if your night's kicking off like that, I don't see you coming in doing unity stuff, man.
No, I think that's right.
It is straight. And I think it was the bread man who said this. If Hulk Hogan appears, it confirms politics is just professional wrestling. Billy will have to explain the shot and work.
Yes, the
which
shoot
I
and
don't
work.
know. The shoot and work.
Yeah.
And that we're all just marks.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. See, the idea is, okay, now I know that you aren't equated to the finer artistic performances that are professional wrestling. A shoot is when it's real. It comes from the idea of shoot fighters, the idea that you're actually getting in the ring. Before there was the UFC, there was the original shoot fighting in Japan, and that's where that comes from. So actual fighting, where the work is we are working together to put one over on the audience or to tell a story.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from. And Peter always tells a story great about where the term mark comes from, and that's an old carny term, that when you were wandering around and when the carnivals would go from town to town to town, the people that would run, the games of chance and stuff like that, they would mark you if they knew they could fool you. And what it was a small piece of chalk that they would mark on your back. And so you would have a small slash. So what would happen is the rest of the carnival employees would know you're an easy target to get money from. You were a mark. That's where that comes from. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So then for goofing around for pro wrestling, what you do is pro wrestling is a vaudevillian morality play. You walk in there and you suspend disbelief and you mark out. You sit there and, you boo the bad guy, you cheer for the good guy, and you just play along with the audience, just like you would in any sort of a play. It is pretend, and everybody inside that arena agrees that we are going to suspend our disbelief, and we're going to watch a bunch of big, muscly guys dressed in spandex that have baby oiled themselves pretend to fight. Okay, fine. Just because, those guys on NCIS, they're not solving crimes. Chicago Fire, they're not putting out any fires either, so that's okay. And we've even found that some of those crocodile and snake hunting shows, not even crocodiles and snake, they rent those. So, again, that's what it is. It's all pretend. So that's where it comes from. And if Hogan comes out, that's going to be hard to top because Donald Trump fashions himself in his speeches much as a professional wrestling delivery. And Hogan's not going to come out and go, hey, brother, we got to all come together. We got to make sure we come across. No. That's not Hulk Hogan's things. He's about, look at the pythons. What are you going to do, baby, when these pythons run wild on you? That's what he is. And the other question will be is when he comes out, do they get the release? If Hogan's there, do they get the release on his song he used in WWE, which is Real American? I'm a real American. And you'd know that if you knew 80s wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little patriotic little rock song that Hulk Hogan, it was his theme song for a long time. Do they get the release in order to play that there? That would be interesting.
So I know I kind of push back on the nature of my fellow politicos in the sense that I love entertainment. In politics. I wanted during the debate, I think I was on Jenna Ellis's show here on Salem, and I was like, no, Donald Trump should come out in an orange jumpsuit licking an ice cream cone just to troll Joe Biden. Come on, baby.
And that's why we're friends. That is why we're friends.
And no, this is a serious policy debate, Jeff. We got to get into the nuts and bolts of the direction of this country, all that stuff. What I'm feeling, and I just didn't know where today was going to go until I spoke with Greg Clugston, White House News Correspondent from Salem, just in the last segment. We may be seeing an entertaining night.
Yeah.
If you get Hulk Hogan and Dana White out there, it may scratch my itch of I don't want to hear policy discussions for 25 minutes from Don.
No.
I want to have some fun, man.
If they go full professional wrestling, we've seen the stage setup. It's not set up this way, but if they wanted to go full professional wrestling setup, and this is borrowing from like New Japan and also All Elite Wrestling here in America, what you do is you do the rising platform out of the middle of the stage. You bring up, and you have him rise up with all the smoke coming out and the lights shooting, both below and above. You get those little, spotlights going, and he comes up and he emerges out of the smoke, and you've got the lights going behind him. You've got the song. But that's the way to do it.
Can you do that though in light of last weekend?
That's a great question. And this is what I would do is if they frame it as a triumphant return to the stage. Last time I was on the stage, someone took a shot at me. I'm now back on the stage.
Wow.
This is where I am, and I'm coming back as your fighter. That could be really, really effective tonight. Yeah, that is the first time I'm back on the stage with you.
You can do the entertainment. You can do the grand entrance. You can't make it kitschy.
No.
You can't go full WWE, rip his shirt.
No, you can't. You can't do the Hogan, do the thing with the ear, and he looks and he waits for the yells. No, I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do. But I like the idea.
Texted us that if Hogan rips his yellow shirt, that'll bring him back.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. It'd be something if both Donald Trump and Hogan ripped their shirts off together, but I'm not sure we're ready for that in prime time. I'm not sure anybody's ready for that.
And I think you reach a certain age level that you can't do that as much anymore. Sorry.
You can't.
By the way, Hulk Hogan got baptized recently.
Yeah, he did. That was really neat because he's had a let's just say difficult journey. Hogan has had a difficult journey, both professionally, physically, and also religiously. He hasn't necessarily always walked the narrow and true, and he has gotten into some stuff that have been absolutely awful. And it's nice to see him redeeming his soul. It's nice because he has made some really bad choices. Bubba Loves Bunch. So things are just weird. So it's nice.
Who's the British guy that baptized recently too? Russell Brand. Russell Brand.
Yeah. He's for me. He's a weird one because the stuff that he connects and how he thinks, I'm like, you're a little out there, dude. But he's interesting. But it's nice to see him because he's, of course, Katy Perry's former husband.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And was kind of into all the Eastern spiritual stuff.
Yeah, he was for a while. So
who knows? Maybe it runs off on Donald Trump. We'll see a White House baptism in the second term.
Yeah.
That'd be
that
cool.
Could be interesting.
I want to talk to you all about QC Connects. I got a chance to go visit their operation here recently. Wonderful people. And this is really important because they're able to treat stuff like your elbow, your knees, your back without necessarily having to get into surgery, right? Life in Colorado is awesome this time of year, but not so much if you've got that type of joint pain in your knees and shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatments using what's called regenerative medicine. They harness the healing power from your own body to restore and repair your damaged joint tissue. So many of our listeners have done this, and they are so grateful. They're pain-free, including some of the guys here in the office. Joel was telling me that he was out hiking recently after getting some work done at QC Kinetics, and he was able to go 5 miles, a distance he hasn't been able to in years. QC Kinetics can get you moving again, too, with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. This is the future of medicine, and the local professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with a free consultation. They have clinics in Aurora, Superior, and opening up soon, Highlands Ranch. If your shoulder or back is always hurting, if it hurts to walk or lift something, you need to check this out and get lasting relief. Do it now so you can enjoy the rest of the Colorado summertime like you deserve. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics. 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. Get a free consultation today. 303-900-8986. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Got some good text messages coming in here, Billy.
Oh, yeah?
I'm a never Trumper, but if he wears a nudie suit with rhinestones, I'm back.
Yeah, he gets the rhinestones, and that convinced me too.
Is Donald Trump going to come full WWE? I didn't even think about this till Greg Clugston, the White House news correspondent, brought up the fact that Dana White is going to introduce him and Hulk Hogan may be here. So what are we gearing up for tonight?
Oh.
I thought going into it, it was going to be kind of Reagan-esque.
Yeah.
You know, he just survived this assassination attempt. I'm going to call us to our better angels. That was a Lincoln quote, right? He's going to get up there and do this grandiose. Because, look, and Peter and I talked about this on Saturday.
Yeah.
For 2.5 hours without any commercial interruption when we were covering the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
By the way, KOA was doing post-game analysis over at the Rockies.
Yeah, because that was super important at that time. Super important.
But here is my question. How much does the man change the office and how much does the office change the man?
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
In this case, Donald Trump has just survived an assassination attempt. He's seeking to be the president. His opponent has just completely fallen apart, right? He's debates. He can't even do a news interview. His own party is calling for him to withdraw. I mean, there's so much division with the Democrat Party. Can he just at this point, like you know, a team that's now up 30 points in the Super Bowl, just start to play nice?
Ooh.
You know, we're not going to hit you as hard. We're gonna talk about the importance of the game and how impressive it was when you came out and man, you really did a good job out there on the field because we're winning by 30 points. I don't need to pound you into the ground.
See, I think Donald Trump would be that football coach that would run the score up just because that's what he does. And this is the thing is what I'm looking for tonight. If they wanted to make a thing tonight, do you remember Rocky and Apollo Creed in the Rocky movie where he comes out to Living in America and he's got the top hat on, and he's got the that's what Donald Trump needs to do. He needs to come out to the Living in America, James Brown, and he needs to come out the smoke. He needs to have the top hat with the stars and stripes on it, and he needs to be bouncing around like he's the fighter. That's what he needs. We just do not need him either shirtless or wearing boxing gloves. It's the only thing. Other than that, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Iggy thinks Trump's going to become a TV evangelist.
That's fantastic. Oh God, we could do all sorts of things about the stuff he's going to hawk, about the things he's going to sell.
Right. Well, he kind of has done a lot of that stuff, right? I mean, it's the Trump Bible.
Exactly. That's it. He's going to have the pop-up version next. That'll be the thing. Yes.
Gabe texting, Rogan did a phenomenal interview with Hogan about a year ago. Check it out.
I'll have to go find that.
Thanks. Great show, gents. And then Gabe always likes to say go Raiders.
I know but it's okay. We understand that he obviously was either injured or abused as a child, and we're helping him get through that. Gabe, I tease. I love you, Gabe. I tease you.
You do live in Colorado and you're a Raiders fan. I know those types of people. I can only guess what you're like, Gabe, in real life. Unbelievable. He always likes to razz us.
He does.
All right. In the 9 o'clock hour, Tom Tradup, we're going back to Wisconsin to get the details from the RNC convention. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. The Chinese government says talks with the US over nuclear arms control have ground to a halt. China's foreign ministry blamed US arms sales to Taiwan for the talks breaking down. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
A Chinese foreign ministry spokesman said US arms sales to Taiwan had seriously compromised the political atmosphere to continue talks, and the US must respect China's core interests. China claims Taiwan as its own. The US State Department says China's approach undermines stability. Now, the US is Taiwan's most important partner and arms supplier. Last month, Washington approved $300 million in sales, including for spare parts for the island's F-16 fighter jets.
Senator Robert Menendez has pushed back against reports that he's about to resign after his conviction in a bribery trial. NBC News reported that Menendez has told close allies that he'll step down from Congress. But the senator responded to those reports, saying that he has not resigned and that he's, quotes, not spoken to any so-called allies. Earlier this week, Menendez was found guilty of accepting bribes from 3 businessmen. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Okay, here we are at the Pfizer Forum for the 2024 big night. Trump will be right there tonight, and it's going to be awesome. So Jeff and Bill, we're excited about you following the convention all week on KNUS, and we've been happy to be here for you. God bless.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and especially this week from the heart of the RNC convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Joining us here in just a second is going to be Tom Tradup. He's the Vice President of News and Talk Programming at Salem. He's been joining us all week. He's going to give us an update on what's happening. I want to ask him about Peter Navarro, what that was like. He walked out of federal prison, and if you remember, he was put there for defying congressional subpoenas, and then walks out on stage. His fiance's there. Man, what a moment. And way to stay strong, Peter Navarro. That was fascinating. We're going to talk to him and more. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 70 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s, maybe 90 degrees today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
And I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
JD Vance at the RNC, he praised his running mate, former President Trump. Vance has come a long way since 2016 when he opposed Trump. After Don Jr. spoke, he told a funny story about Don Jr., Eric Trump, and their dad.
But 2 nights ago, and I'll share a moment, said goodnight to his 2 boys, told them he loved them, and made sure to give each of them a kiss on the cheek. And I will say, Don and Eric squirmed the same way my 4-year-old does when his daddy tries to give him a kiss on the cheek. Sorry, guys. He is all those things, but tonight we celebrate he is our once and future President of the United States of America.
And the future president, former President Trump, set to take the stage tonight to formally accept the nomination in what should be an amazing night. It'll be the first time he addresses the nation since the assassination attempt. Tonight's theme is Make America Great Once Again. One of Trump's granddaughters, Kai, took to the stage last night.
I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see. To me, he's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking. He always wants to know how we're doing in school. When I made the high honor roll, he printed it out to show his friends how proud he was of me. And,
Wow, that's awesome. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro is out of prison and spoke in Milwaukee hours after his release and greeted with a standing ovation.
I got a very simple message for you. If they can come for me, if they can come for Donald Trump, be careful, they will come for you.
Navarro was convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with the subpoena from the House committee investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Navarro says, of course, Democrats are waging lawfare against Trump and his allies. The 20-year-old who attempted the assassination Saturday made a post hinting at the attack. Thomas Crooks posted on the gaming social media platform Steam, quote, July 13th will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds.
You cannot hide from
the people of the United States. You're the head of the Secret Service.
You owe answers.
Wyoming's John Barrasso and Tennessee's Marsha Blackburn confronting Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle at the RNC. It's going to heat up next week as lawmakers and patriots trying to get some crucial answers after all the mistakes made at the rally last weekend. Here's Barrasso.
The shooter has been identified an hour before the shooting occurred as a suspicious person.
Colorado's Lauren Boebert is also helping lead the way with House Speaker Mike Johnson. Incompetence, or is it much bigger than that?
But it does appear once he gets in the car that he puts that mask on.
Puts the mask on. It appears that he might be getting a little help just getting into the car there. Hard to make out through the rain what exactly is going on there, but it does look like certainly the president's feeling the effects of, early in the stages of COVID. And
get your mask. President Biden has tested positive for COVID. BET's Ed Gordon asked him, what would it take for you to step down?
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided.
Over the weekend, Biden held a tense Zoom call with dozens of congressional Democrats, including Colorado's own Jason Crow, who had questions about Biden's ability to lead. NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis, former Denver Bronco, demanding accountability after being removed from a United Airlines flight in handcuffs in front of his family last week. TD said 6 FBI and law enforcement officers boarded the plane for what they said was a report of a violent assault.
They come right towards me. And at that point, my mind is like, what the heck is going on? I'm in shock that this guy is actually putting handcuffs on me. I was powerless. I couldn't do anything. I would want to know why. Why would you want to ruin a man's life like that? And I didn't want him to answer those questions in front of my children, like look them in the eyes and tell them why they tried to harm, destroy their dad.
Davis says he simply tapped a flight attendant on the shoulder after the man failed to acknowledge his son asking for a cup of ice. United has apologized to Davis and said it removed the flight attendant from duty while they closely review the matter. All right, the co-founder of the Orlando Magic has passed away. Pat Williams was one of the best. He was awesome. 84 years old, and he has passed away. Tom Tradup is just ahead. Loving this segment from the RNC. 66 in Westminster, 67 in Castle Rock, 70 in Denver, and 35 on Press Row at the RNC. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Temperatures will be upper 80s to near 90 today. Partly cloudy. A few thunderstorms come late afternoon and evening. Not as many as yesterday, but some will be around. Increasing coverage of thunderstorms. They're back more widespread on Friday, lower 90s. Highs will be in the 80s. That's it for the weekend with late-day thunderstorms continuing. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Tom Tradup joins us, Vice President of News and Talk Programming at Salem Radio Network. Tom, what do you think of tonight?
Oh, Denver.
Morning.
I want you to know, Jeff and Bill, that I needed a quiet place to get away from the fantastic Salem Media Group booth because there were so many people crowded around. I wanted a place where we could at least have a reasonable conversation. So I'm sitting actually in the booth, which is currently unoccupied, and I'm hoping no infidels try to move me. I'm in the Radio Iran booth.
Ooh.
And I've got Arabic writing all around me, and all the people that are coming by, they're like, "Oh, that guy must be with Radio Iran." They're like, and one guy take a picture of me while I was getting ready for your show. I go, I'm not with them. Don't use that.
Oh, that's great.
You're the threat that CNN was talking about early on.
Be careful. You're going to go viral.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, speaking of CNN, I'll shut up. You guys ask your questions. I don't want to.
No, our big question is, what do you think of tonight? We've had a lot of conversation when Greg Clugston joined us. You know, he brought up, and I didn't know about this, that Dana White was going to be introducing Trump, and then Hulk Hogan may be making an appearance as well. So
that's right. Hulkamania is running wild, brother.
I thought, after Saturday that this was going to be kind of Lincoln-esque, Reagan-esque type of speech, but now I'm hearing that it may look a little bit more WWE or UFC. What are your thoughts on what do you think Trump's going to do tonight?
I just hope. I don't have any inside information. I wish I did. I always like to tell people, let's pull back that curtain, but I'd like to see Bobby the Brain Heenan or the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart come out, and they would get in a steel cage death match right before Trump comes out, really whip the crowd up,
we were talking earlier, Tom, about how maybe he should come out like Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies when he comes out to Living in America. All the smoke, he's got the big top hat with the stars and stripes on it. Do some showmanship here.
And then have Clubber Lang beat the crap out of him.
Mr. T. Pity's the fool.
But no, it's going to be so fantastic. Last night, as you could see on TV, just an absolute great evening. And when you mentioned CNN, I was like, oh man, CNN. Van Jones on CNN, you made me run the audio on your show. You talk about a guy who now will probably have to have Secret Service guards on himself after he goes on CNN and says, a bullet couldn't stop Donald Trump, but a virus stopped Joe Biden. And whatever the rest of it was.
Incredible line.
And he's telling the truth. I mean, the fact is, if you saw Biden, the poor guy, you almost feel sorry for him. Not really, but you almost do, because if you see him get out of the limo and get onto his airplane, I don't know if it was Air Force One or what it was, to head back to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, the world reconciliation and relaxation capital of America, he was really moving kind of slow, and everybody kept saying, did they slow that down to watch him going up there? No, that's his speed. He's like Tim Conway on the old Carol Burnett show. He's shuffling along, and the poor guy, and now he's got COVID, which I found, I'm not suggesting these are, as I always put the disclaimer on, these are not the views of the Jeff and Bill Show or KNUS or the Salem Media Group. They are my sole opinions. However, I just found it awfully odd that they announced that he had COVID 15 minutes before the opening session of the Republican convention. And then, of course, Fox News Channel covered the convention, and they made mention of Biden, but they were covering the convention because that's the news story. And on CNN and MSNBC, it was like, oh, do we have a doctor who can talk about if an 81-year-old man has COVID? Oh, Joe Biden, this is terrible. Oh, and it was all Biden all the time on the other two networks. So it's counter programming. Some genius in the White House did that. But at the same time, they announced that Biden has had 5 doses of either the vaccine or the booster shots. And you go, that's a real testimonial to how well that vaccine works there, Biden. You know, he's got it again. But it was a great night. JD Vance was so great giving his speech. Of course, having Mama, the reference to her having, when she passed away, they found 19 loaded guns in her house. And the place just absolutely brought the house down, because everybody here is very pro Second Amendment and pro NRA. And so it was really quite an evening to be had. And as far as Vance goes, I think he's just even more terrific than I thought he was. He's so spectacular and such a family man, and talking about his faith. And I think he's going to be such a great addition, in addition to taking the bark off of Kamala if they ever get to a debate.
Yeah, he's a really good speaker. He was impressive last night, and I love the story that you brought about Mama, because with that 19 guns, the explanation he had was that she was getting so old, she wasn't that mobile, so she placed the guns around the house, so it was never more than like one step away. So whenever trouble happened, she was ready, which I absolutely love that story. Now, Tom Tradup, Vice President of News and Talk Programming for Salem Radio Network, joining us live from Milwaukee. I want to go back to the CNN story a little bit. One of the things when you talk about, MSNBC and CNN doing the Biden watch type stuff. One of the things I found so ridiculous was that play-by-play about him getting in and out of the SUV. You're like, this is just so unnecessary. But we can at least congratulate them on continuing to highlight the president's frailties. It's not the message they think it is, but thank you. We appreciate that. What do you think about the CNN story they just released last night, that during that conversation where Biden gets the COVID and they put him in the SUV, that there's a conversation where Nancy Pelosi says, dude, it's time. You're hurting the ticket. You're hurting the ability for us to hang on to Congress. You need to move. Do you think there's actually something behind that story? And do you think Nancy's pushing for him to be gone?
Yeah, I think so. I think they all are. Even the Van Jones line that we think is so spectacular really was. I mean, the complete thing, if people didn't see it, was a bullet couldn't stop Trump, but a virus stopped Biden. The Democrats are falling apart and the Republicans are coming together. I mean, it was like 3 continuous lines during the Van Jones thing, and it was great. But you have to remember, he is a far left, green energy Democrat who worked in the Obama White House, and he wants to win in November. So this is when he's not just saying, yeah, this is not bad, you're not good for Biden. He's kind of stabbing Joe and trying to move him out the door quickly so they can put Kamala at the top of the ticket. So it's not altruistic what he said, but it was great what he said.
No, Tom, I got to ask you, we've been going back and forth, Billy and I have, on this question. Joe Biden may just be looking at this as a hurdle he needs to overcome. I have spent my life overcoming hurdles. You don't get this far in politics if you don't overcome hurdles. Look, Donald Trump, January, February, is sitting in a cold Manhattan courtroom. Today, he's the top of the and on cloud 9, but months ago, it wasn't looking good for Republicans. Do you think the reason Joe Biden's hanging on at this point is that he believes that he can just simply overcome this?
I think it is. And I think Lady Macbeth there, his lovely bride, doesn't want to give up the power either. So, I mean, he can't do anything without her. He can't scoop the chocolate chip ice cream without her doing it for him. So I think Dr. Jill has something to do with the decision. But he is, to be serious, which is not my main suit, as you know, I've followed Biden back since I grew up in Syracuse, New York, and his first wife, who was killed in a real very tragic car accident, and he lost his wife and his daughter, and his two sons were in the accident also, but they survived. She was a school teacher in Syracuse. That's why it was played up so big in my hometown. That the guy from Delaware, his wife was killed in a car wreck. And he's fought against adversity his whole life. And he is really an interesting guy. And politically, I don't agree with him on anything. We all thought he was kind of a national joke when he ran for president and had to drop out when it turned out he was plagiarizing speeches from Neil Kinnock, the head of the Labour Party over in Great Britain. He was like some fop, some popinjay from British politics. And he's like, yeah, I'll just use some of his speeches. Nobody will notice. Oops, they caught him and he had to drop out. But he came back from that. And when he was the vice president of the United States, even, they say that unlike a lot of vice presidents, and none of them are ever sort of the front of the ticket, they're an afterthought. But Biden was treated very badly by Barack Obama. He never got invited upstairs even to the family quarters during the 8 years they were in the White House. They'd have semi-regular lunches, which all vice presidents and presidents do, but he didn't really get any real jobs. He kind of checked the morning paper, you open the Washington Post, and if the boss isn't in the obituaries, then you get to go off and crown the, milk queen at the state fair in Michigan or something. That's your job. And you preside over the Senate, but there's usually not that much to do unless there's a Supreme Court nomination. So he's a guy who kind of got kicked to the curb by life in a lot of ways. And God help him. He's 81 years old. I don't wish him any ill health. I'm sure he's going to bounce back from the wink, wink COVID that he suddenly got 15 minutes before the convention. And he'll probably be fine physically, but the guy should not be running. I mean, any Democrat, even if they hate Donald J. Trump, and that's fine. That's why Baskin Robbins makes 31 flavors. Not everybody's going to like Donald Trump. Appreciate that. But it's such a bad idea if you're an American, whether you're in Colorado or where I live in Texas or anywhere in the United States. You want to have the United States respected on the world stage, and you want to have a strong president, frankly, somebody like Trump, who they're afraid of. If you remember back to the Ronald Reagan days, when Jimmy Carter, Mr. Peanut, was our fine president, the Ayatollah Khomeini took a whole bunch of Americans hostage, held them for over 400 days, humiliated Carter by, dangling, we'll release them, then they didn't release them. All of a sudden, on Inauguration Day, Ronald Reagan puts his hand on the Bible, raises his hand, and goes, I do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And an hour later, all the hostages were on the plane on the way back to the United States. And part of it was to humiliate Carter one final time, but part of it was they thought, this old guy's crazy, and he's got his finger on the nuclear button, and he's probably not afraid to use it, so let's not mess with it. And that was how Reagan ran the country for all that time.
Yep.
And and same way with Trump. It just fascinates me when I get to talk to people, and there are a lot of them here at the convention. There are plenty of Oppo research people. You get a lot of Democrats who come to sort of be truth warriors at places like this. We saw JD Vance last night. Let's tell you what the real story is. When he was in Ohio, there was a bake sale when he was in fourth grade, and he stole some of the money. They come back with all the bad stuff he's ever done or anything he ever said about Trump when he called him Hitler or anything like that. You go, right, but that's all behind him now. So did Nikki Haley. So did DeSantis. And they're all now for him. So you can go back and try and stir up what he said in the past. There are plenty of things that people have said in the past about me, but I've forgiven them. You guys didn't say very nice things about me the last couple of days, but I still love you.
I didn't know you had the podcast. I'm sorry. Jeez. Oh,
exactly. But seriously, I think it's sad that anybody who looks at Joe Biden, and you have to just go, it's not just because he's 81. It makes no difference to me how old somebody is. There are people who are 90 and they sound like they're 30. There are also people who are 30 and you go, how old is that guy? I mean, he has declined so much cognitively, and he really doesn't get what's happening around him, much less around the world. We have this axis of evil and chaos with Russia and China and Cuba and North Korea, and they're all gathering together and aligning their forces against the United States. I want somebody who's in the White House who, A, doesn't go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. You know, that whole thing.
Well,
And B, that people maybe are a little scared of. It's good to have the United States be the big stick again.
And it gets to you remember the old Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the marketing fields that, you know, at the end of the day, you can have all these kind of high level ethereal conversations about the direction of the country. But if the guy you're running can't string sentences together and seems to fall asleep in the middle of interviews and goes to bed at 4 p.m., you're dealing at a whole nother level of just basic competency that people want out of the president of the United States that they're not getting from Joe Biden. But Tom, I want to ask you about this. Look, we've got about a month before the DNC convention. Right. That is an eternity in politics. I can't believe the assassination attempt was still less than a week ago. And we've moved on to all this other stuff. They've got 4 weeks, the Democrats do, to coalesce. My sources had always told me they were going to wait till after the RNC convention anyways, so that you took away the Republicans' ability to zero in on whoever the new nominee was going to be, likely Kamala Harris.
Yep.
So you wait till afterwards. All right, we've got 4 weeks to coalesce, get around this person. All the media right now is Republicans are unified, Democrats are divided. But I think that there's still a real option for them to come together and put a forceful effort into winning the presidency and come out of a DNC convention unified, maybe, but maybe in light of the whole Gaza protest, maybe not. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it could happen. And generally, out of every political convention, you're right, there's always a sort of a bump in the polls for whichever party has just had its convention. My prediction is going to be maybe this time is not going to happen for the Democrats. They may get a mild swelling rather than a bump just because of people seeing it on TV. But remember something. This is not like the old days when it was ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they controlled all of the primetime viewing. There are a lot of people in this country who, frankly, don't like politics. There are people in my church. I go to a Baptist church, and they're like, I'm not into politics. If you're not, well, you might want to be when they come for the right of your pastor to say something from the pulpit that that offends people. If you say, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman, that in Canada, by the way, you talk about talk radio. In Canada, you say that on the radio, you can get convicted of hate speech. That's coming to this country real quickly.
That's right.
And we don't want pastors to be controlled by the government. We don't want you guys, other than within the reasonably liberal laws of libel and the strictures of the Salem Media Group, for things that you may have to say or not say. But you pretty much get to say what's on your mind. That's why people listen to you every day. And they like the back and forth between you politically. And you just are, at the end of the day, nice guys, and people like listening to them. You're entertaining. I don't think that the Democrats are going to have a good convention. First off, if it's Kamala Harris, it's going to be that Biden resigned and she'll be the president at that point, and she'll be the accidental president. So she may have the shortest presidency, she may have the shortest reign since the 1400s when there was that Pope that got poisoned. I just think it's not going to be well. And remember, all of the people, all the Antifa, pro-Hamas, they're throwing urine on people and having tents on the college campuses, and the Occupy Wall Street people, and every malcontent in America had already planned to be in Chicago for the Democratic convention. And it's shades of the 1968 riots that the great line from the great Mayor Richard J. Daley, who ruled over Chicago with an iron fist for many years, and everybody was upset because of the police riots, the way they were clubbing the protesters at the Democratic convention in 1968. And the mayor had a news conference. They were peppering with all these questions. You have police that are out of control. He goes, gentlemen, please get the thing straight. The policeman is not there to create disorder. The policeman is there to preserve disorder. You go, yeah, thank you, Mayor. nice quote, dummy. But yeah, I think they're not going to have a good convention. If it's Kamala Harris or if it's an open convention, that's the other supposed scenario where Biden says, okay, I'm going to announce that I'm leaving, but I'm going to finish out my term. For the good of the country, I just decided I can't run again. So it's now an open convention and everybody gets to run. So let's say there's 5 or 6 of them. You've got Kamala Harris, who thinks she's the heir apparent. You have Captain Gel there in California, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer. Please, are you kidding? Just those buggy eyes would scare voters. But Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, I can't think there are a half dozen others. They'll all get to run against each other in like a big super primary, I guess, at the convention, and the delegates will all vote for somebody, and then surprise, we'll have a brand new candidate. It's tough to run a national campaign. Ron DeSantis found that out. You know, if you've never run a national campaign before and half the country doesn't know who you were, by the way, that was Ron DeSantis. That was sort of what went wrong with him. He's running against Donald J. Trump, who was president and has this massive following from the Make America Great Again movement. And here comes DeSantis, who's a terrific governor, great guy, very conservative, right on all the issues. And people go, who's this guy? What's his name? DeSalvio? Voters who don't pay a lot of attention to politics go, I don't know this guy, even though all of us in the media world knew him extremely well. So whoever the Democrats pick, even if it's Kamala Harris, people are going to go, who's she? You can never go broke underestimating the intelligence of the American voter. And so I wouldn't think this is going to be an easy layup, even with the people at MSNBC doing the dirty work they did last night. Rachel Maddow's first comments after the JD Vance speech, she goes, something about that guy that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Oh, I know what it is. He reminds me of Jerry Falwell Jr. And I go, oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's do the guilt by association thing. That's a good idea. And then Joy Reid, you know my story about people named Joy. Joy Reid said, yeah, she goes, you know, it's interesting. Everybody's making a big deal about Trump being shot, but they're not making such a big deal, even though it just happened, about the virus. You know, president being sidelined by a virus or a bullet is kind of the same thing. They're still sidelined. No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's like breaking your leg versus getting a hangnail. That's not even close.
Yeah. So I want to call over to MSNBC. Go, hi, can I have the president's office? Yeah, hi, it's Tom Tradup from the Jeff and Bill show. Hey, remember when you kicked Morning Joe off the air? Why don't you take Joy Reid next?
Yes.
You know, I mean, she's seriously deranged.
Yeah, now
there's an unhinged person.
Now, Tom, I want to explore Tom Tradup, Vice President of News and Talk Programming for Salem Radio Network, joining Jeff and Bill live from Milwaukee. We sure appreciate the time. Want to discuss a little bit. You brought up Rachel Maddow, and there was something I ran across in the last 15 hours. We talked to Heidi Ganahl, president of Rocky Mountain Voice, also former CE region, candidate for governor, great, successful small businesswoman. We talked about Rachel Maddow and the impression of JD Vance. In the last 15 hours or so, I saw a quote coming from Maddow that said, JD Vance is the Republicans telling everyone they think they have the election in the bag. Is Maddow right, or is she wrong?
No, she's not. But that's,
not a surprise.
Again, they want to put everybody into a box. So they say, if he had picked someone who was a moderate, like Nikki Haley, then they're reaching out and they're expanding their base. He's totally MAGA. So they must think they have the election in the bag. I heard her say something like that last night. It wasn't those exact words, but the message was the same. If Trump picks him, then they just figure they don't have to expand their base, and they're ignoring Black people and Hispanics and Orientals and left-handed dwarfs with brain tumors. And you go, they're not. We just met a kid. I can't think of his name. It's Bryland is his first name. You could probably find him if you use that first name. You can't be many people like that. He's in one of these influencer kids. He's on Instagram and 16 other things. He's heading up some Republican high school or young college Republican thing. And he's not a Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA, but he's the digital version of that. And this kid has hundreds of thousands of followers, and they are doing a lot behind the scenes with digital outreach to youth, to minorities. I think the Democrats are scared to death that if Trump peels off 5% of the black vote, and he's going to get much more than that. But I mean, if he peels off that monolithic black vote that always votes for him, the Jewish vote generally goes for Trump, goes for Democrats. I don't think that's going to get that vote this time. Israel's been stabbed in the back so much by the Biden-Harris administration and by our fine Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, that I think the Jewish vote is in play. The African-American vote is in play. Hispanics are turning out big time for Trump, and they're all scared. So now they're going to start with the character assassination of JD Vance, and he's just a right-wing MAGA nut. And even Biden, I mean, God bless the guy. I guess he thinks that the way to get elected is to go, the MAGA extremists, the MAGA Republicans are out there. I know these MAGA people. I guess he thinks maybe he, in his own mind, ran a focus group and said the word MAGA is upsetting to people. Most people don't know what that is. Trump's line is "Make America Great Again." MAGA doesn't mean anything to people that are viewers. It's like listening to Trump and to Biden in the first debate and probably the last debate. I don't think the September 10th one will happen, at least not with him. When he starts dropping all these Washington gobbledygook, names, he's like, yeah, Trump, he's against the ACA and he's going to cut the ACA. You mean Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act? Viewers don't know what the ACA is. We do. Government types do. His whole world is in D.C. He's been there since the earth was cooling, and he's stuck there. And Kamala sort of went along for the ride, but she's not exactly. I think the whole campaign, if she became the president, or if she becomes the nominee for president, if Biden doesn't resign, if he sticks around till the end of the year, and she becomes the nominee, all you have to do is use 4 words, and this election's in the bag. Border czar Kamala Harris. The end. Good night.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, Tom Tradup, Vice President of News and Talk Programming, Salem Radio Network. I think you're right that her huge weakness is the fact that she was put in charge of the border and then she ignored it for so long. I think the only reason there could be something for the Democrats to be persuaded to put her on the lead is because it takes the we talked about it earlier, takes the premise of what the Republicans have been saying for the last 9 months or so and kind of flips it 180 degrees. Rather than saying, look at the old guy running for the Democrats, then the Democrats could say, look at the old guy running for the Republicans. I don't think it's a resonant message that is going to really persuade voters. But I think that's their only play at this point. And I don't know if you heard earlier, you weren't on with us, but Blake Olson's played it in the news. You probably heard the clip where Biden talks about why he could be removed. And he mentions the idea of, and it would be something medical. So I feel he's laying the groundwork to possibly step aside based on COVID. But what people are missing between you, I, and Jeff is the second part of that answer. The second part where he says, I thought I was going to be a transitional president, but things got so crazy, I had to stay here. He's just shot Kamala in the face. He's just said that my partner can't get it done. Oh, my Lord. How are we missing this? How are Democrats not losing their mind over that as well this morning?
And back that up another 15 minutes. He's on Black Entertainment Television saying that, Mr. President, is there anything that would make you leave this race? I mean, you keep saying you're staying and people are tired of asking you the question, but is there any circumstance where you would leave the race? Well, maybe if I developed a medical condition. Yeah. They didn't even wait 24 hours to let that sink in. Let the media run that up the flagpole a few times and then announce COVID. It was like so fake. He's on Black Entertainment Television and then suddenly, oh yeah, okay, I just said it. So go ahead and tell people I've got COVID. I mean, it's so unbelievable. I have to tell you one other inside baseball story here at the Republican National Convention. There's a wonderful man named Chris Berry, Berry. He's the chief executive officer at iHeart. You've heard of them. They own about 5,000 radio stations just in the greater Denver area and a big nationwide chain. Chris Berry just walked by and he stopped. He did like a double take on one of the old silent movies or something, seeing me sitting in the Radio Iran booth. I'm sure this is going to be a buzz around here, but anything for you guys.
Well, Tom
Thank you.
Tradup, we appreciate it. Vice President of News and Talk Programming with the Salem Media Group. We're so grateful you're taking time. We'll get one more report from you tomorrow as we wrap up the RNC convention. But I got to tell you, Salem, wall-to-wall coverage, everybody from Charlie Kirk, Hugh Hewitt, Dennis Prager, Sebastian Gorka, Mark Levin, all covering the RNC. So you're going to get the best updated news. Mike Gallagher, all the best updated news right here on the Salem Media Network. So stay with the station all day long as we preview Donald Trump's major keynote speech tonight. And then we'll follow up tomorrow with all things wrapping up from the RNC convention. Tom Tradup, thanks again for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you for letting me join you.
Guys, want to talk to you about advanced hair restoration. You know that the Jeff and Bill Show is the top-rated talk radio show in Denver by Westward Magazine. Well, our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration were the top-rated hair restoration company by Westward as well. And everyone always asks, what makes Advanced Hair Restoration different? Well, first off, Advanced Hair stands by the results, and the before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick, it's simple, and it's easy. Now, if you have one of those flexible schedules this summer, and you've been wanting that special summer savings opportunity, well, it's here. Advanced Hair's summer savings event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer. For details and to schedule your free consultation, give them a call at 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and afters are available at advancedhair.com. Give them a call, 720-459-HAIR. Or visit advancedhair.com. We'll get to those phone calls next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Rome, I'm Giles Gibson, and here are the top stories we're following. Last night, Donald Trump's pick for vice president accepted his nomination at the Republican National Convention. You can watch the former president's speech at the RNC in its entirety on Salem News Channel tonight. But here's Haley Bianco with a roundup of his running mate JD Vance's remarks.
And so tonight, Mr. Chairman, I stand here humbled, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Republican Vice Presidential nominee JD Vance was the headliner for Night 3 of the Republican National Convention. Vance used his address to introduce himself while sharing the story of his upbringing and making the case that it's the GOP ticket that best understands the challenges Americans face every day.
The director of the Secret Service will testify in Congress next week over security at the campaign rally where former President Donald Trump was shot at. Kimberly Cheetle, who's already described the incident as unacceptable, will now be grilled by the House of Representatives Oversight Committee. One attendee of the rally was killed and the suspected gunman was also shot dead by law enforcement. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Giles Gibson in Rome on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering all things Republican National Convention this week. Let's go to the phone lines. Jay, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Good morning. Great show.
Thank you. What's on your mind, brother?
Well, on Saturday, of course, I want to talk about exactly what happened there. Everybody knows. But on Sunday morning, Margaret Brenner's show, which is actually taped on Saturday afternoon, she looked like she saw a ghost for the whole hour. It's almost like she knew something that we needed to know. If you watch her show, she's normally pretty composed, but she looked like, the person that had their hand in the cookie jar, if you will, and kind of speechless. And I'm speechless as what has occurred as well, that our president, ex-president, hopefully future president, was out in the open, and what happened was really severe.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch that. That's fascinating. I'm not so sure it was just the one lone dude that just stumbled in, but who knows? I haven't seen evidence to the contrary, but it seems like the idea that that guy could get past everybody, get up there, get the 3 shots off. I don't know. I don't feel like all the data's there. Jay, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Let's quickly go to Jacqueline. Sydney, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. There's something that no one's talking about here. Kamala Harris is not eligible, constitutionally not eligible, to be president of the United States because she is an anchor baby. They came here, her family, when she was I think she was like 9 or 10. She was in.
She wasn't born here?
She was not born in the United States. They brought her here. Her parents came from Jamaica.
Oh, we'll have to check that out. Jacqueline, we're just out of time. We got to get to a break here. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been an absolutely fire show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. You can hear our conversations with Heidi Ganahl, with Jonathan Keller on what's happening in California with parents in the schools there, and then all the updates on the RNC. Speaking of that, Billy, you got some breaking news coming out on who's going to speak today.
Oh, yeah, brother. Hulkster's in the building. Yeah, the python's running wild. Are you ready for this? Yes, Hogan is in the building. He is going to be following Alina Habba this evening. After the Hulkster, there's going to be, he's going to be following Carrie Ruiz. Before that's Tucky, and then Annette Albright, Franklin Graham, Eric Trump, Dana White, and then DJT. That's the lineup. But the Hulkster is going to be there. Fantastic. Yeah, going to be fantastic. Nobody else had that lineup before us. So thank you, Tom Tradup, yet again. He gave us the inside
We got
scoop.
the breaking news. So Jacqueline called and said that, we're...
I thought the music was out, and I tried to put the slider wrong.
Jacqueline called and said Kamala Harris was not born in the United States. I don't have any more details other than what Wikipedia says, and it says she was born in Oakland, California.
Yeah, and I think there was
on
a
October
question.
20th, 1964. Her mother worked on breast cancer research. Her dad's a Stanford University professor.
Yeah, and I think that was the question when she was nominated for Veep. I think we'd gone through this as well.
Yeah.
About whether or not, because it would have been, could she serve if Biden, stepped
So
aside.
Jacqueline said she wants to call in tomorrow with more information. We'll talk about
Cool.
it. So Jacqueline, feel free to call tomorrow. We're going to wrap up all things RNC, Donald Trump's speech tonight, Franklin Graham, Tucker Carlson, Hulk Hogan, Dana White. Wow, what
That's
a
amazing.
night.
This is going to be fun.
This will be fun to watch and lots to clip. And so for all of us that don't sleep because we get excited about this stuff, tomorrow will be really interesting.
And
we're going to finish the week well.
And we want to talk to you about tomorrow. Was this the unification speech? Or was this the fight speech? What did you think? We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Historic moment with Donald Trump, first national address following his attempted assassination speech. Tune in tomorrow for all the recaps. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.